Well, that is just rocking out tonight. I don't know. I could just let that play. You guys don't even need to hear me talk. Moen, thank you so much for that open. This is awesome. Appreciate everybody being here. For some reason, I don't have Bomber's hit list as a background for tonight, so we're going to use whatever this is, the sit down. That works just as well. Appreciate everybody joining. I know it's late, 11 Eastern time. I know most of the people that are watching this are Central and Eastern time zone, so I appreciate you being up and participating. This is going to be a show all about you guys. I'm going to put the link in for you guys to join me in the comment section. I invite anybody to connect and use that. Generally, if you can do it from a mobile phone, it's a little easier, but just hit that connect link when I post it and join the show. You don't have to have your camera on. I'll give you a couple minutes and we'll talk, kind of do a little bit of therapy tonight. I was on a show with Drake. I did an appearance on Drake Seatoll's show, the party animal himself, locked on Big 12 master. And we talked about, all this stuff, a lot of misinformation and disinformation going on about Florida State and Clemson. I will just say, if it's misinformation or disinformation, it's on purpose. It's not hard to make it stand because we really don't know anything. We know that there was a report of third-party talks. Anyway, we'll get to all that. I just want to make sure everybody knows that's kind of what we're covering tonight. If something else is on your mind, you want to talk about it, that's totally fine too. Obviously, we do the same rules as we normally do with our show. Super chats always get read. I'll get to them and, we'll talk about them. That will include any of the super stickers or anything you guys want to give me for doing this show tonight. And then, of course, we have all our members' comments. I prefer to do those rather than non-member comments just because it's a reward for the members. But I do general comments too. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, follow me on Twitter, turn on your notifications on Twitter and on YouTube. If you have questions on how to turn those notifications on, ask in the comment section, and I have enough smart people that are watching right now will direct you to where that is, and that'll help you get there. It's easy to do. And then, of course, if you want to leave a donation or super chat or whatever, just hit that $ down next to the comment section and just follow the instructions. It's pretty simple. I'm looking to have more members. We're doing member stuff all the time. Really quick, I don't want anybody to forget why we're here, and that is for member content. That's what matters to us. I'm going to share my screen. Let me get to my YouTube. Membership has its advantages, and for us, it's these videos that we put together. Short videos, 10 to 15 minutes. Some are a half hour. Some are member events, the member live shows. None are better in social media on YouTube. You find one that's better, please send it to me, and we'll do a stare and compare. I guarantee you, if there's something we can improve, we will do it. So that's a challenge I put out to you guys. You guys watch our members' videos. You don't like them. There's something in there that you think's bad quality. Tell me, and I'll find a way to make it right. And by the way, I've had that going for a year. Nobody's been able to do it yet. So it's a challenge I'll give to you. But anyway, these member videos, let me add it to the stage. You click the membership tab, and then you go to members only videos. There's a bunch of them. I'm not going to go through all of them. A few of the headlines: Wild Ute University, Hokie Horror. Does Virginia Tech qualify for the Big 12? Well, we talked about it. How about Syracuse or UConn? What about those? Wild Ute University, Miami to the Big 12. That should have a question mark next to it. We talked about it in a members event. That was a lot of fun. And then Wild Ute University breaking down the Big 10 viewership share. That was the most information you'll get from anybody online about really what the viewership options are for all the schools and what their values are in the Big 10. We did those for the Big 12 and the ACC as well. So anyways, I'll take that off. That was a lot of fun. I want to make sure you know that's where our membership stuff goes. Appreciate everybody being here tonight. Let's get some quick shout outs for everybody who's staying up late with me. I can do this because my wife's out right now at a party. So first in the door is Steve-O, High Florida, says, good Lord, Nathan and I have to watch with morning coffee, 7 Eastern. Show will only be a few hours old. And then he later corrected that, saying, no, he thought it was 11 Central or 11 Mountain, which of course it isn't. So Mr. Monkey says he's first. He's actually second. Auto Raider is in the house. Good to see you, Auto. Illini Ted, Friday morning work can wait. I love it. Thank you, Illini Ted. Appreciate you being here. Illini Ted's a member. So is Daniel Gygax. Mafia After Dark. Oh, boy. There we go. Let's do something there. I need somebody to do that with me. Don in Kansas says, here we go. All right. KS Bears fan. We love emergency episodes. Well, okay. I'm glad you do. I'm here for you. Let's see. Lee, another member, says, hello, guys. I will watch for as long as I can. If you fall asleep, don't worry about it. It'll be there in the morning for you. VC Knoll, I was just talking to him on the phone. Vince is a stud. If you're not watching Garnet and Old, him and Big Papa East have a great show covering all things Florida State. It's a YouTube kind of night. It's true. It is a YouTube kind of night. Thank you so much for being with me, Vince. I really appreciate you. Again, MH Ver has a tweet up. I just saw that. It says, TikTok. If you don't follow MH Ver on Twitter, that's your loss. He's a lot of fun. You believe him, don't believe him, but he's sure entertaining. Adrian Rodriguez, another member, says, let's go. Harry Austin says TikTok. That is either his or it's coming from, I did TikTok 2 days ago, so whatever. Mr. Monkey says MH Ver is fake news. Okay. Glenn Lumen, all the way in the Philippines, listening from the Philippines. What time is it, Glenn? I don't even know. What is it, like noon there or something? It's good to see you. I love Glenn. Glenn's Philippines, an international show we got going here. Crab Cakes and Football, thank you so much for being here, man. It's great to see you. What's up, Doc? Nice. Jamie Thornton, you're not a member anymore. What's up with that? You got to get that done. I love you so much. Jamie Thornton is an OG here in the Mafia family, and I really appreciate her. Howdy, folks, is what she says. Glenn Lumen follows up, says, make the Big 12 part of the Big 3. Boy, isn't that the truth? That's what we're shooting for. Laura Weiss, love seeing you on Greg's show. Peek around the corner, obviously. Laura Weiss, hey, y'all. Texas Tech in the house, represented. Glenn Lumen tells me it's 11 a.m. in the Philippines. Well, that's good to know. It's right now like 4 in the morning in the UK. Is that right? 5 in the. I've got some UK viewers. I have somebody in Slovenia. So we're international around here. What's the emergency? Terry says. Emergency is I'm here. That's the emergency. If you're not showing up just to see me, I'm not sure what you're here for, Terry, because I drive that business. I'm going to point, what up, B? Thank you, R-Web. I'm going to post the link. This is how you can join the show. This is a feedback show, so I'm going to be going off of comments and questions you guys put in the comment section right now. I will try to cover them with articles that I've seen, try to back up some of the data that we've been able to collect, and then what that does for some of the guesses and prognostications we put out in the world. I've certainly done quite a bit of that on YouTube today. We'll cover and Twitter today. So I will back up all of my tweets. I don't walk away from anything I've said. Starting off with Mr. Monkey says, saying Coach Whittingham doesn't think the Big 12 will be in the P3 in the end. Well, Coach Whittingham has also said that he didn't think they were going to be part of the Big 12. He also said he's going to be playing regular games with USC and UCLA. He's said a lot of things. Coach Whittingham is not infallible. He's done a great job at University of Utah. He's a BYU grad, so I respect him, but he's certainly not Karnak. He's not predicting the future. And if this is the future that you guys are talking about, that future could be 5 or 6 years away. Super League, not tomorrow. That's all I'll say. And I know some stuff about the Super League. I do think it's coming. It might be fashion different than you've heard. We are going to get to a place where there's going to be a Super League, but nobody says that only has to be 3 conferences. That's all I'll say. Anyway, Monkey, good to see you. Lee says, what's that one, Daniel Gygax? I didn't see that comment from Daniel. Glenn Lumen says Coach Witt will not be coaching soon. Yeah, he said he might retire in the next little bit. Daniel Gygax replies, Lee saying the Big doesn't have the votes for Clemson and FSU. So let's talk about that. This was first sort of reported on Peek Around the Corner. Some of this stuff has been confirmed. Some of this is rumor. But there does seem to be an internal struggle at the top at the Big Ten level about whether they want to extend that offering to Clemson and Florida State based on several things. Based first on their academic profiles, the research thing. I'm not Tony Moore, so don't get me started there. But they do have certain numbers and metrics they want to go by. And some of those things you might think matter. Some of the things they might think matter. But for whatever it is, there is word that we are getting out in the etherverse that says that maybe they don't have all the votes to come into the Big Ten right now. or maybe they do join, but it's at a lower rate, right? I wouldn't put anything out of possibility. Daniel, hang on, I'll get to you. I definitely believe that the Big Ten is that the Florida State and Notre Dame are your best three brands that are available once the ACC blows up. I believe that. But what I can't believe is that they're going to leave the ACC without having a plan, a place where they think they're going to go. So there's a mix there, because if that's the case, why didn't they just settle and leave a long time ago? And the reason is because ESPN doesn't want the ACC to settle. The ACC is holding that pin right now, and that answers a lot of those questions. So we'll see. I don't know about the votes. I've heard a lot of stuff, but I'm not going to report other people's news. First, I'm going to start with Daniel Gygax, and I've got Anthony Manzano on deck. Good to see Anthony. Just hang out there. I got you. So, Daniel, what's up tonight?
Nada. Just looking at, saw the tweet that came up, and it basically is the exact same stuff that was being bantered. I think Greg was talking about not having the votes for FSU and Clemson. I mean, we know the Big Ten is after Notre Dame.
Yes, that's the dream scenario. Yeah.
That's the big one. That's what everybody wants.
Right.
I don't see Notre Dame joining as long as NBC is cutting checks.
Maybe. There's a lot of rumor about NBC and who they want. There was a rumor that came out today that we roll back to something we talked about last summer, which is the Stanford rumor, right? Stanford's next jump isn't to the ACC or wherever they thought they might fall to. It's they ride with Notre Dame to the Big Ten. So
Stanford, okay.
I just don't know.
A little bit of inside baseball. I know that Immaculate's talked about this before too.
Okay.
Stanford is a part of this Ivy League library consortium.
Right.
So they're allowed to share information.
Right.
And one of the sticking points was that if you're a part of that Big Ten academic alliance,
you have to share that.
You have to share information.
Right.
And Notre Dame is sitting on probably $1 billion in patents. They don't want to give that up. They're not going to give up $1 billion going to the university each year for an extra $50 million in athletic revenue.
I'm not saying it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. You proposed it as that's the dream scenario for the Big Ten. It is, but the chances that happens now, especially since they just did the NBC contract this last year, I think are very small. Unless the ACC ceases to exist as a power conference.
Well, I mean, Notre Dame still has options to put all their other sports.
They do, but it's not ideal, right?
Well, the Big East can sit there and say, hey, join us again.
Sure. Look, you're right, Daniel. That's true. They could.
Yeah. And they're all just, well, not all of them, but a large number of Catholic/Jesuit schools that make up the Big East.
Right. Yeah. And we don't need to go down that rabbit hole tonight, Daniel.
No.
I know what you're talking about. And just tonight, we're talking about ACC, Florida State, and all that, and what you're talking about with Notre Dame in the Big Ten. If you had a final note or question, what would it be related to kind of what's going to happen with the ACC overall?
This is my thinking.
Okay.
I don't see the ACC wanting to settle quickly.
Well, that's obvious.
The longer that they can drag it out,
right,
the better off they are.
Okay.
They can drag it out. They could drag it out all the way to the Supreme Court if they want to.
Agreed.
And each win that I wouldn't say that it was a win in court. They won a procedural.
Right, they did. Yeah.
Which that boasts the ACC, hey, look, we did this in court, but hey, they still have issues in Florida. Hey, they still have issues in South Carolina, but they won. end up getting something done in one court case, and that's it.
Yeah, look, the long game with all the legal stuff, it's going to take a long, long time unless there's a sudden settlement. Right now, there's five suits going between Clemson, Florida State, and the ACC. 5 different suits. So
Yes.
the chance that those are writ large is going to be solved in a month, in 2 months, I find that hard to believe. So we'll have to see. I agree
don't
with
see
you.
him being. I don't see him being solved within the next year.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe true. Daniel, I really appreciate you coming on. Thanks for helping me get this started.
Hey, no problem.
Okay. We'll talk to you soon. Okay. See you tomorrow night. Daniel Gygax, one of the OGs of our show. You've been so patient, Anthony. I appreciate it. Can you hear me? Oh, you're on mute. Let's see. There you go.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can, yeah. Yep.
How are you today, my friend?
I'm having fun. How are you?
I'm doing all, honestly, I can't remember what video I saw this. Someone was cracking up. It would be hilarious if the landing spot for Florida State and Clemson after these 2 lawsuits, it's the Big 12 after they wanted to get into the ACC. Like, people are laughing that
right.
they got out of the ACC to land in a conference that has a lower payout in the Big 12. If that happens, like, would you find that hilarious?
I would find it shocking. Yeah, I would say, but I would also say this: you're only as strong. Your leverage is only as good if you can play 2 parties off against each other. You're suing me for access to my yard, and you have leverage because you have some old contract that says you could walk across it whenever you want. Go to court, you say, this is my leverage, and the judge says, oh, okay, yeah, I'll defer to that guy. If the Big Ten, for whatever reason, doesn't take the first option with Clemson and FSU, and I'm not saying they're not going to, but say they don't do that, then it's pretty hard to leverage anything strong from the SEC. At that point, the SEC knows they've got you, right? But what happens if you don't have a firm confirmed thing from the Big Ten or the SEC? Now you devolve your choices, and I would say they have 3, and you tell me which
go independent.
Okay, go independent. Go back to the ACC for a few years, make that work, and then just bounce when the quickest time. Or you go to the Big 12 where they give you some financial incentives to do it. They will help you pay your exit fees. I'm only guessing, right? But I'm thinking of the fees that they would incur. And then maybe they get additional playoff money, and there's some other things. I want to dispel this rumor, though. They're going to be getting $60-70 million. In my opinion, I'm really stupid and stuff. There's no way the Big 12 is going to pay $60 or $70 million for FSU and Clemson to join the Big 12. They may pay 45 or 50.
If it's 3 teams like Florida State, I understand 75 million, 65 million if they get 3 teams like all 3 of the big brands in Miami, Clemson, and Florida State. But for
as
2
payout
teams, that makes
or as increased value to the contract. Because I don't think why would the Big 12 if they fall to the Big 12, this is where the leverage thing comes in. Answer this for me. You come to me and you want something from me, but I know I can buy you for 50 cents on the dollar because I have no competition. Why would I give you more than what we think you're worth?
I could probably say this. They would be technically the biggest brands in that conference.
Right. I don't disagree with anything you're saying. They would be. Absolutely, they would be. But why would you pay them when nobody else is giving you? There's nobody else bidding against me.
You're outbidding yourself, is what you're saying.
And you're not going to outbid yourself. You're going to underbid yourself. You're going to pay them just about the minimum you could to get them to come over. And in my opinion, right now it's $32 million the schools are getting in the Big 12. If that number doesn't change a dollar and it stays at $32 million, and you pay Clemson and Florida State, not Louisville, not Miami, Clemson and Florida State, $50 million every year, as long as they've joined, then I think it's absolutely worth it. I think you pay them the additional money, and you bring them in for a few years, and then you let them go when they're ready to go.
And Bomber, this is what I've been thinking. Actually, what I can see happening is, I don't think if the Big Ten brings Florida State, if the Big Ten, I think they only focus on football. I think I can see the other sports, like baseball, probably going to the SEC, because the SEC is a good baseball conference,
right?
Or the Big 12 for basketball, like the
right.
That's what I can see happening. They split the sports up and stuff like that.
That's possible. Yeah.
Does that make financial sense in your honest opinion for the
not yet? Not yet.
For schools to do that.
No, I don't think so. No, I think the only way it works is if you follow Brett Yormark. And I see you there, Jeff Fuller. I see you. I think it makes sense if, as a contract, like Brett Yormark's talked about doing with the Big 12, when they renegotiate in 2030, 31, they break them apart at that point. And then I think they actually do make more money.
Yeah, no, because to me, I can't remember if it was Yormark or someone, a Big 12 reporter that was saying this, that they want to become an elite basketball conference.
Right.
Now.
They said that. The SEC said the same thing. Yeah.
So that's what I can see happening. I can see them trying to get Duke and North Carolina's basketball team to make that happen. And,
yeah, it's possible. It is possible. You're right.
And this is where that's why I can see for baseball, the SEC doing that, bringing the teams like Miami, Florida State, and their softball teams for Florida State into that conference to make them even crazier, better. So that's why I'm saying, like, for me, but financially, you say it doesn't make sense right now.
Not right now. I think in the future they're going to start
unless they do a contract.
Right.
What you're saying.
Right. Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Bomber.
You bet. Of course. Good to see you, Anthony. Thanks for joining. I really appreciate it.
Have a good day.
Okay, you too. I want to clap for both Anthony and Daniel. You guys are studs. Thank you so much for joining me. All right. With me now is another BYU Cougar who can't seem to control his phone. How you doing there, Jeff Fuller?
Hey, what's up, Bomber?
It's late where you're at.
I'm a night owl and an early bird.
All right. What's on your mind tonight? Give me for a few minutes. Tell me what you're thinking about.
Yeah, just it's been interesting watching Big 12 Media Days, some of the news out of there. It's exciting that the season's coming up. This is, I think, realignment, of course, draws in a lot of eyeballs, and it's sort of the soap opera, the reality TV show for dudes. But I'm just excited for football to start and just to see it on the field. It's interesting going in, BYU with such low expectations. I've got mixed feelings there, but just seems like some injuries are piling up to some key players. I think we got word within the last 48 hours that apparently our best offensive player and our best defensive player are gonna miss at least part, if not all of the season. And boy, that's just not where you want to start. But I guess you want it to be known before fall camp starts and people can get their reps and get the team gelled together.
In my opinion, I think all BYU fans just need to just take a beat, right? 3 to 5 years. We all expected we all expected a quicker turnaround. 2 games different from last season, and perception this season is completely different if they finish Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. So it is a perception issue.
Potentially 2 plays away from winning those.
Right, but also they got absolutely manhandled at West Virginia. So there are staffing issues.
And Iowa State game wasn't. So there were some ugly moments. I think at a certain point the team either gave up on some of their leaders or some of their coaches, or something happened where they just.
Well, A-Rod's still there, Jeff. As long as
I know he's on the chopping block for sure if the offense doesn't improve. But
you're an official booster with them. Can't you do anything about that?
Oh, I mean, I'm not. Yeah, I don't think I hold much sway.
You need to get rid of that guy.
I'm a super fan, but I mean, jumping back to the FSU, I know that's the reason for this.
Right. Yeah. Go ahead.
Tonight. Boy, I mean, that would be an amazing coup to get them and or Clemson and or Miami.
Yep.
I honestly just don't see it. It doesn't pass the smell test to me.
Right.
I think I've mentioned before on Greg's Flugrayer show. I called in a couple days ago, just saying I think it's sort of a dog and pony show to
Maybe.
To satisfy the legal side of the Big Ten that doesn't want to be viewed as meddling and tortuous interference. I think it's called when they sort of get in and start to negotiate with teams that are
under contract.
Right. Yep. So I think it's a lot of that, just sort of some distraction. But maybe there is something to this Notre Dame smoke. Josh Pate's stuff is supposed to happen
right
sometime before the end of the week. The fact that it might be Friday, if it is ESPN saying they're not going to renew, that would make sense to release it probably on an afternoon on a Friday, because ESPN will probably get some blowback from a lot of, that's sort of when you release the bad news is late on a Friday. If you want to release good news, it's usually earlier in the week, and you can run those media cycles and sort of milk it for all it's worth. But if you're feeling there's going to be some blowback, releasing on a Friday. So I'm not predicting that, but it would be interesting. And well, I guess we'll see if Josh Pate sort of, and sometimes I wonder, people like Greg and Josh Pate, are they sometimes, are some of these sources, are they?
The answer is yes, they are.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying.
Well, do they
have a narrative?
Did you see my interview with John Manzano?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I asked him point blank, were you manipulated during the whole Pac-12 thing? And what did he say? Yeah, I was. I was taken advantage of. I was used by by Schultz, by OSU, by Utah, by
his was a little different. Yeah, his was a little different because there were a lot of voices saying the contrary on the national media stage. I don't
know. Anyway, I
followed it very closely. But in his case, he had a daughter at Oregon State. He wanted, he covers the Oregon schools. He wanted it to be true as well. So that you got to check yourself on that.
But you were just saying, is Greg being possibly manipulated? Am I being manipulated? Is Josh Pate being? Absolutely, yes, that could be happening. We could all be getting used.
Yep. But again, it's sort of the way it goes. You got to trust your sources, and I think Greg has been very circumspect with how he's done things, and I think he couches things, and I've learned to trust him and to where he goes. He has had to pull back and take some L's, and it's just part of the process. But I mean, getting. My question is your Mark part of this whole process, and he's just a willing accomplice, and he's ready, whatever it takes to crack the ACC. If flirting publicly with Clemson and Florida State is enough to get the other players back in and to get things moving again, or are they just going to call the bluff and just wait another year? Well, I guess we'll know soon, but. I think your Mark wants to crack the ACC one way or another and grab some of the brands, at the low end, is it grabbing Pitt and Louisville and NC State and Virginia? At the high end, can you snag Clemson and Miami out of it because they're not exactly what the Big Ten or the SEC want? That would be a coup. So time will tell.
Absolutely. I appreciate you joining me, Jeff, for a few minutes. Thank you.
Yep. That's right.
We'll see you later. Go Cougs. See you later. Another BYU Cougar in the house. It's good to have Jeff join the show. Obviously, he and Ryan Thomas are fantastic with statistics and not just BYU stuff. Anyway, I posted the link. I'll post it one more time if you want to join me on the show. Just click that link. It's really easy. You will be put in my green room, and then I'll bring you up. I will, if I have more than one person join, I will ask one of you to be patient while I get through that person's comments. But tonight, as you can see, we're talking what's next, Florida State, Clemson, ACC, ESPN, anything that has to do with those things. We can talk Big Ten. We can talk Big 12 rumors, all that stuff. I am geared up, and I'm as educated as I'm going to get with some of those things. And I want to get to some of these comments. I was able to, just so everybody knows, I know there's a ton of comments. It's just me doing command and control here tonight. So if you want your comment to be sure read, it'll have to be a super chat. Other than that, I'll try to flag them when I can. But it's kind of hard to do that all yourself. I don't know how John Kurtz does it, to be honest. Let me get to a few of these. This one right here from Nathan Campbell stood out to me. Bomber, do you think the Big 12 will have sponsors for all 4 major sports? In my opinion, yes. They will have sponsors for the referees. They will have sponsors for the footballs and basketballs. It will be, if you can imagine Premier League soccer in England, that's what eventually Big 12 equipment and jerseys and everything's going to look like. They're going to sell the hell out of it. Brett Yormark's going to do whatever he can to close the distance, keep people safe, and to stay relevant. So, yeah, Nathan, I think that's exactly what they're going to do. And it's going to go down to the Olympic sports as well. You might start seeing some sub things where they rent out, I don't know, track and field equipment, or I don't know. Be very creative for sure. But, yeah, I think that's the answer to that direct. Summit Hawk, good to have you here, Summit. Another member, by the way, says Big 12 has a look-in. Value wasn't raised with 4 corner editions. It could have. The reason it didn't go up is because Fox did not pick up their option. So it was 2/3. That's why Utah and the rest didn't get a full buy-in. Anyway, and will add value if they get the big 3. I guess the big 3 I'm not going to put North Carolina in it. So Florida State, Clemson, and I guess Miami would be the big 3, Summit. If not, correct me in the comments section. Look, it is a very slim chance that any of these big schools, let's just say with the 3, come to the Big 12. But it is a chance. It's non-zero. I put out a tweet today. I think it's closer to 20%. That still leaves 70% chance something else happens. But it's not zero. So they come in my opinion, they go to about 50 million. Each school goes to about 50 million. That's my guess. Let's go round numbers, okay, Summit? Front runner, good to see you, front runner. It's been a minute. Did Bomber just say renting FSU with private equity was a good idea? In my opinion, I love doing this, in my opinion, crap, because, everybody takes everybody else out of context. In my opinion, Brett Yormark, who's worked with private equity in all of his previous deals, working with the NBA, working with the Brooklyn Nets, guy is big time. I think he has got it figured out how to use private equity to, in short form, buy probably only Clemson and Florida State. Maybe Miami's on that list, but I'm going to stay with 2 and have them come over. And yeah, it would be for a short time. I don't know. I'd be comfortable with 4 or 5, let's say 5 or 6 years, the end of this next contract term. And I'll tell you why. Because over the period of that 5 or 6 years, the value that it's going to bounce back to the Big 12, it's going to be more than the 15 or 20% you would put into private equity. That's my estimation. Now, I haven't run those numbers yet. I haven't talked to Bob Thompson about that yet. I'm going to. Ute and I are going to work that as a project in these coming days. But I think over a period of years, you could look at what are those tables called? The I know I'm trying to say, where's Jen Santee when I need her? I need Jen Knoll in here. The tables that they use for taxes. So you know what you're going to be paying over a long term, and what you appreciate on investments. That, whatever that is, I think it works out so that by the end of that 5 or 6 years, once they leave, and they'd have to pay a small fee to leave, they would be able to essentially buy a large part of that ownership stake back from whoever bought it. That's how I would use it. I'm not Brett Yormark. He's smarter than I am. A lot smarter people at the Big 12 offices. That's one idea. I bet you they have 50 ideas already worked. And I don't think this idea came out of nowhere that they're talking to the Big 12. Big 12's talking to the FSU and Clemson. In fact, in my opinion, not the report from Ross Dellinger, my opinion, they've been talking since last summer. Third party, of course. No first party talks. So front runner, you've got me on tape. Now put me to the world. Maybe look foolish to say that's my idea, but I think that's possible. Hall of Fame college football, Jason and the coach. That'd be Jason Watkins, ultimate stud out there. Shout out to the College Football Mafia. Thank you for being a member, Jason, for 5 months. I really appreciate your membership, and more than that, your brotherhood and friendship. I really appreciate you. Can't wait when we can get together again. That I'm looking forward to that day. Your shows have been awesome recently, by the way. Thanks for the shout out. Let's see here. Let's get to some more. Terry Kane, another member, says, as a Miami fan, here is what I think, and I love this. This is Miami. ACC will fold. Top schools from the ACC will form a new conference. Rest of the ACC will join the Big 12. So this is the dissolution theory. Let's break this down. Terry already knows it, so I'm not talking to him. For anybody who's new to this, the dissolution theory says, and I think it's up to 9 or 10 schools, have to go in and they disband the conference. They say, I'm out. And in doing so, it releases them from a lot of these contracts and these things because they're no longer, the contract or the conference no longer exists. In doing so, they immediately disenfranchise schools that aren't in their little group. Who are those schools? Well, let's say them out loud. Boston College, Wake Forest, Syracuse, Georgia Tech, maybe? I don't know. Maybe you want to put North Carolina State on that list? I don't know. But there's at least 3 schools that would immediately be floating. And I do not think they go to the Big 12. I think they end up staying in the ACC or the Pac-12. Those guys reform with Washington State, Oregon State. They pick up the next best brands. That's their new conference. But I do not believe in the dissolution thing. I know Greg said that for a long time. I've always thought it was kind of a crazy idea in the first place, sort of fanciful. And I will say this: the latest quotes I've heard on this, Terry, came from SMU sources. SMU was in the selected 10. So how'd that be? SMU hasn't been a power conference for more than 5 minutes, and they're now in the next group that's going to be promoted into this uber reformed ACC. I don't buy it. So I love you, Terry. Thank you very much for being a member and being around here. I love having you on, and thank you for your comment and question. That's really great to see you here. Let's see. Mr. Monkey says Hateful Eight will resist uneven sharing. Some schools will also resist extending the gore to satisfy private equity. I think they will resist. Let me put it to you this way, and this goes to any Big 12 people watching. You can put it in the comments again. I'll get to them here eventually. Tell me right now whether the opportunity to become a power 3, a real power 3, leaving everybody else behind, but to do it, you have to leverage your future by giving uneven revenue sharing and some of these other ideas. Would you take it? That's a question for the Big 12. More than likely, it's a question for the Hateful Eight, the original 8. They're still there. You tell me. You want to shoot for the moon and possibly have a huge payoff, or do you want to keep risk low and just middle somewhere far behind the power 2? In my opinion, you shoot for the moon, which is what I think Brett Yormark's trying to do. But I agree with you. They're going to resist. I like that. The key word in that statement is resist, but I don't think it will win the day, in my opinion. Daniel Gygax, Bob Thompson brought it up. Might not be a great idea to do separate basketball and football contracts. Last time we had Bob on the show, was that 2 weeks ago? He did say that. He also wasn't so up on the private equity portion. He's like, I don't know. He didn't say no, though. So I would just put that out there. He never said no. Let me get to some more comments. You guys are fantastic. I love these comments. Thank you so much. I'm going to post the link if you want to join the show. You do not have to go on video. Click that link and talk to me. Tell me what you're thinking tonight. I'm going to work backwards through some of these more recent comments. Let's see. Baylor University, Patrick Bowen. How we doing, Patrick? No, give big payout to all because they raise the value 10 to 15 million. Are you answering a question, Patrick? I'm sorry, I'm coming in at the bottom. No, give big payout to all. Oh, so you're saying don't give the uneven payout to those schools. You want to spread it out more evenly? That would be perfect, obviously, but that might not be enough to get them to join the conference. We might have to give a little bit to join. Not 50 or 60, not 60 or 70 million, though. I would even say not 55 million. That's a good comment. Yeah, FSU, Clemson, right? Yep. I got you. Keep chopping. Don't forget to smash that like button. Everybody hit the like button. Thank you so much, Nightbot, for doing that for me. I appreciate it. I'm not hitting all my short codes, so I appreciate everybody being here tonight. Emergency episode, just trying to answer questions I'm getting on Twitter. A lot of activity going on about Florida State, Clemson, Big 12, ACC, Big 10, all that fun stuff. Thought we'd jump in and try to answer some of these things directly. Vox Quindaro at Keep Chipping. And Yormark wasn't bashful when he said it. He's ready to keep going. That's what he finished with. I agree with you, Vox. You're right. Really quick piece of business. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Hit the like button. Follow me on Twitter. Let me take off this banner so you can actually see my Twitter handle. Follow me on Twitter. Both Big 12 Mafia and the College Football Mafia. Both of them are my handles that I'm using for this organization that we call the Mafia Network. Appreciate you being here. Make sure you subscribe. Turn on your notifications so you know when our shows are. Our next show is tomorrow night. Down at the bottom, you'll see a banner that's showing you all of our show times. Tomorrow night is our Big Freaking Friday show at 7 p.m. Eastern. I'd love to have some of these new people join me tomorrow. Devil Frog, the original OG Mafia member. FSU isn't going indie. So that's what I proposed on Twitter. I didn't bring up Indy because I thought it was the farthest out, but they have to go somewhere. If they leave, they have to have a destination. So rebuilt, reconstituted, or humble ACC, Big 12, Big 10, or SEC. I don't know. Tempest says, doesn't the ACC ESPN have till tomorrow for FSU to see the agreement? The judge just ruled on that. I think it was 7 days they were given, but I don't know if that's a drop dead, Tempest. You could probably look it up pretty easy. I do know that the judge ruled they're going to get it, though. If they don't have it this minute, they're going to get it in the near future. So, but I will say this, too. Florida State celebrating they're getting it. Clemson's had it for a month, and we haven't seen any revolutionary new lawsuits from them. So maybe temper our expectations. We expected FSU to get a hold of it, really tear it apart, and come up and pile on more charges or more lawsuits. Clemson didn't do that. But they also didn't have access to some of these other agreements that were just opened up to the FSU. So we'll have to see. It's certainly lively. There's no doubt about it. If you're new to the channel, I'm reading through comments. I'm going by member comments, general comments, and then any super chats that I get. And of course, I invite everybody to join as a member of the College Football Mafia Network. Our member benefits are insane great. Ask anybody in chat if they're a member what they think about the quality shows that we put out and our shorts. BR7062, good to see you again, brother. And as a member, thank you. Uneven payouts never work if the disparity is that big. They take the money and they leave pretty soon anyway. To me, I don't care if they leave, BR. That doesn't bother me. I'm kind of trying to jump down the line. I'm looking ahead. I'm not looking at the way I feel right now about my school and the emotion tied to that. I'm breaking it up. I'm just trying to make a business decision. And if they can make it even out over a period of time where the Big 12 is nothing but stronger by bringing in schools that eventually leave, I don't see why that won't work. But I'm one of billions, so I'm probably wrong. The Big Lubbock, another member says, what do they miss? Yeah, as far as material, I'm not sure what you've missed, Lubbock, except for I'm just explaining a lot of the stuff we've talked about on Twitter recently. Let's see here. Nick M. All right. Slava Ukraini. I love it. Yes, let's go, Ukraine. Win that sumbitch. All right. Clemson could be allowed to keep their CFP shares they'd be bringing rather than share it with the conference as an enticement bonus. I would say the same thing with Florida State. Yep. That would be one enticement, one way to bring them in. So the Big 12 doesn't lose anything, but the schools do get more. Yep. Nick, you're exactly right. Let's see here. Try to get to some more. Civil War Ghost, a newbie. Good to see you here, Civil War. Hateful Eight would love to see ACC go down and pay the temporary price just to kill off all competition for P3. That's kind of where I'm at, Civil War Ghost. It's been the goal since OU Texas left, and the Alliance. Yeah, the Alliance was bad medicine, wasn't it? Killed one conference. It's about to destroy another one. Lines were drawn and people were hurt. There's no doubt about that. And yeah, I don't know if you're representing all. I'm hearing the opposite from a lot of other Hateful Eight people, so maybe there's a mix there, Civil War Ghost. But I'm with you. It's not so much about destroying the ACC as it is making the Big 12 the strongest possible brand in college sports, which is what Brett Yormark's, it's his job to say, but that's what he said. So can only take him at his word. Let's see here. Some new members. Larry Hendrick. Good to see you, man. In the end, we have the Big 12 has to trust Yormark. You're exactly right. You're exactly right, Larry. Thank you very much for being here tonight. Brent Moretz. West Virginia fans want Pitt in the Big 12, but it's possible for the backyard brawl to be played in a non-conference game. Yeah, they've been doing that, Brent. You're a North Carolina State person. You know that. They've been playing that non-conference for a long time. But yes, they do want them in. In my opinion, though, Pitt, of all the schools in the ACC, if all of them are available, I think Pitt's like 7 or 8 on my list. Right? I don't have the investment that West Virginia fans do with Pitt. I understand that emotional tie, and you guys, your opinions definitely matter. I'm a new person, relatively, but in value to the conference, one rivalry game is not enough to make up for some of their viewership numbers and whatnot that we've talked about on our Wild Ute University show. By the way, let me pop that up because we got 120 people coming in. If you're a new member, let me show you what new membership brings you. Let me take this off. A new membership gives you access to our Wild Ute University, our timeline, our Moan Rants. These are all shorts, all members only. You become a member and you have access to these, and I guarantee you'll be the smartest guy at the water cooler tomorrow, or if you work remotely in your next Zoom meeting. If you watch these videos, they are the best on the internet today. And I challenge anybody to find something that's better produced and that has more accurate data. We deal in data around here. So let's see here. Let's get to some more. Boy, these comments are fantastic. Steve Ohio, Florida, staying up late. Nothing is cut and dried when it comes to how the Big 12 will handle finances if they decide to add members. Not sure anyone other than those close to the situation has a clue. Steve has got it. He's exactly right. Nathan Campbell says the Valleys 2 is supposed to go to Amazon. I'm not sure what that means. Can you explain that, Nathan? I'm not sure what that one means. Sorry. Let me post the link to join the show again. Make sure we get that out. If you guys want to join me live and talk a little bit, let's do that. Devil Frog says SMU spent $100 million for nothing. I think that is possible. I think that actually is possible. I'm torn with SMU. I think their gumption, their gall, their willingness to do anything to be part of the party is laudable. I do. On the flip side of that, I think it's totally against everything else that has been involved with power football. The schools that have been elevated recently, including BYU, which wasn't a G5 but is independent, played at a G5 level. At a power level for decades. You haven't been relevant in the AAC. It's been 40 years since the death penalty, but I would flip that around and say it's been 40 years since the death penalty. You guys have been back in the game in the 90s. It just makes no sense. So I'm torn there. I think it's cool you guys did it. You got away with it. But I also think karma's real. That's all I'll say about that. Summit Hawk, maybe Syracuse if we take 6 or more. Syracuse is on the list. 6 is Syracuse. In my opinion, Syracuse is ahead of Pitt because of the numbers that you worked out. I know it sounds crazy, but Syracuse has some great media value. Brent again says the Big 12 won't take Boston College, Wake Forest, Duke, Syracuse, or Georgia Tech. I don't know about Duke, Syracuse, or Georgia Tech. I think they would. I don't think Duke would go to the Big 12. I think they're like Stanford. Georgia Tech, I don't know anything about, so I can't answer on that. But Syracuse, I think, would go. Boston College, Wake Forest. I think they're going to end up with Washington State and Oregon State somehow. Tempest said they need to do it now. SMU, Cal, and Stanford will get a vote. Already, SMU has their vote. Just so everybody knows, so we're up to date. SMU has their vote. Stanford and Cal don't vote till next month, which offsets that math a little bit. Let's see here. Rawhide Media for You. There's a name. Good stuff. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Good to see you, Rawhide. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on those notifications, man. I got a guy in here now that I got to bow down to. Thank you so much, Crab Cakes. How you doing?
Don't know what I did wrong.
Can you hear me? There you go.
Can't hear you.
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Oh, you disconnected. All right. Come back, Crab Cakes. Maybe try on your cell phone, not your computer. Sometimes that will help. But it's great to see you. I'm glad you joined the show. I've wanted you to be on the show for a long time, actually. Nick M says, I haven't liked SMU since way back in the Southwest Conference death penalty days, so keeping them out of the 12 is important to me. I think that's universal in the Big 12. I don't think you're unique in that. Daniel Gygax, Pitt and Syracuse were the schools that started the Big East implosion. Pitt can go to the MAC is all I care. West Virginia will win the brawl by 2 touchdowns. Okay. Talking football. I like that. Another new member, Braska Rascal. Thanks for being here, Braska. Brett Yormark says, we open for business. Yep. And that's where a lot of my analysis come from. It's the exact same words he used with the Pac-12 last year, and we see where that turned out. So, yeah, I agree with you. Summit says Virginia Tech and Louisville are must-adds. I agree. I think Louisville is a slam dunk. I'm not sure about Virginia Tech. I'm a little torn. On Virginia Tech for several reasons. Won't go into it tonight, but, I mean, they're valuable, and I think they're on the list. I'm a little torn. Renee Rocha, another viewer. All these new people, thank you so much for being here tonight, guys. A emergency episode, addressing some rumors on Twitter. I want to fully explain some of the stuff I put out on Twitter so people don't mistake what I'm trying to say. Renee Rocha says SMU will fit right back in the AAC. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. That is a mess. That's all I can say. Oh my gosh, Summit Hawk, you are the god of gifting memberships. Everybody, please thank Summit Hawk for being the stud he is, because he's personally keeping us going with all of his very kind donations, being a member, and then, of course, giving all our memberships. He's gifted 5 new memberships to the College Football Mafia Network. Those memberships went to Renee Rocha. Hey, there you go, Renee, a new member, new viewer. Let's see, Sam8911SK, you're a return viewer. Good to have you here. Sky was given a new membership. Thank you so much, Sky. Skaven Yes is a new member because of Summit Hawk, and Joaquin Morales, a bunch of people that have been around a while. Make sure you guys, 1, thank Summit Hawk for those memberships in the comment section. Let him know you care. 2, consider, if you've received a membership, buying a membership for somebody else. Pay it forward. I believe in karma. I've said that before. And I believe that when you pay things forward, give things away that you don't have to, you get a lot of, probably double good in return. Anyway, that's where we're at. Thank you so much, Summit Hawk. You're a stud. Donation stud. Need to come up with something special for you in the future. Jason Watkins, Hall of Fame college football. How are we doing tonight?
Doing good, man. Loving the shows. Just I decided I better pop in on this emergency deal and ask some questions, man. How's it going?
Let's go. So hit me. Let's go rapid fire.
Yeah, well, I guess, where do you think this is going? Do you think that they're going to probably stick with the ACC and take more money, or it almost feels like that would be probably the easiest way. I'm just a question, I guess.
In my opinion, making a business decision, not leaving emotions, leaving all that outside.
Right.
I would say I would keep the lawsuit going because you're already invested in that. Might as well run that out to the end. Doesn't really matter. But I would shelve ideas of declaring you're leaving the conference tomorrow. And I would just immediately get back in actively into the ACC running as much as you legally can because you've done this lawsuit. But just participate and go out and win football games and get better. Put themselves in a better situation. Who knows what happens with the court case? They might end up winning that and not have to pay anything. But if they stay in the ACC, don't spend tons of money to get out, win, then that will take care of itself. If I was driving those two schools, that's what I would advise them to do. I hope that SEC picks them up. That's like my first wish. I think the big thing is really struggling. Now, we could all be surprised. The big could come in tomorrow and say, ha, 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 played with everybody. And if that happens, we say, oh, okay, cool. You're the big guy on the block. You get to drive the bus. Nobody cares. We were wrong. Oh, well. Yeah, SEC, I think, is 50-50. If I was them, I'd stay in the ACC. Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of where I'm at. It's you've got quite a while on these contracts. They're just starting. So it almost feels like I don't see the ACC being or the SEC being in a huge hurry to add them at all.
Right.
You know what I mean? And because they're not going to dilute their, and if ESPN doesn't want to, pay extra for what it is, although within, I guess that would be another question I have is wouldn't that them already being in some kind of a deal with ESPN, they could probably easily move into the SEC that way and not really upset the apple cart as far as the other members are concerned, I guess. But I know that to me, I'm not sure. I don't know. I've never really understood why Clemson and FSU would be in such a hurry to get out of the ACC, aside from the difference in the money, because of the fact that, I mean, it's going to be tougher to get to the playoff from the SEC.
I think I can tell you the exact reason why that is.
Okay.
Because, and I think Clemson is just a follow along. I think this is all Florida State driving the bus. And the fact that ESPN let them out to dry for the playoff
thing,
completely bailed on them, and the ACC didn't do anything.
Those
two things are slaps in the face. Imagine you're a booster that gets millions of dollars every year to the FSU athletic department, and this happens to you, that you just want to walk away, right? You don't want to have.
Especially whenever the chairman of the CFP committee was an ACC athletic director.
Again, these are inexplicable. How could that happen?
Right.
Yeah, I that's the reason. I think it's ego. They've thought they're better for a real long time. We've carried the ACC and all that stuff. But you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars to leave a conference that really, I mean, just conference to conference without adding those two schools, Big 12 and the ACC are pretty square. So it's almost exactly even without those schools. You lose those schools, and now you're not. But you go to another conference, so there would have to be a give and take. Brett Yormark would have to come up with ways to make them feel special, whether that's money, exposure, whatever it is. For those schools to come to fall to the Big 12, it would take quite a lot. It's a heavy lift.
Yeah. And did I read correctly or that people are thinking that SMU would get kicked out of the ACC somehow? Or
no, that's just people being funny.
Okay.
What they're talking about, SMU
paid $200 million to get in. They wouldn't get relegated out of it that quick, would they?
Well, no, but think about if Florida State and Clemson leave.
Sure.
Now they're in a conference that it's marking time at that moment, right? And once that value drops out for the ACC, Wild Ute worked it out, Philip worked it out, and it's about 2/3 the value, $20 million.
Yeah.
With North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's if they keep North Carolina.
That's if they
keep. That's a huge brand.
That's a huge, yeah. And Louisville, and so SMU could have done all that, given up 9 years of media money to join a conference for 15 minutes.
That won't be there for 9 years.
Right.
But that's the other thing I was saying is there's no way that the SEC and the Big Ten together take all of those schools, though. There's no way. So,
well, I mean, let's count them. Let's assume Virginia Tech and Clemson. Let's just for numbers. Let's say they go to the Big Ten, right? It doesn't really matter.
okay.
The SEC then, in my opinion, would sort of be forced to make some decisions, and
Sure,
some of those
of course they would.
decisions might be about growing in North Carolina and Virginia. So
They're not going to let the Big Ten
those
have
schools.
a ton more.
Right.
schools in there. I get
So
that.
then they come into the SEC. Now you got two power conferences that are 20 teams.
Okay.
So does the Big 12, how many schools do they pick up? There's a lot of people saying, why doesn't the Big 12 just merge with the ACC? The reason is because they don't want to pick up the dead weight of the schools that aren't carrying any value. And
Okay.
without naming those, let's talk about the ones that do carry value. Louisville, Virginia Tech, North Carolina State, Pitt, Syracuse, Georgia Tech. That's 6 that you could bring in that would bring in at least the same amount of value as they're currently getting in the ACC.
Okay.
So there's no reason to, one, bring all those other schools.
Okay.
No reason to have them. And 2, the league really, in my opinion, only needs to go to 20. I don't think they go past 20, in my opinion. Then you have 3 power leagues, 20 teams a league, and you're done.
Does that up the revenue, do you think, in the Big 12 if it goes to that?
Depends on which of the schools that come. It could. It really depends who comes. If somehow they got Clemson and Florida State, it would go up.
That much is the reason I say that. How much does that help the Big 12 if that's the case? If you're one of 3, but you're the clear number 3,
right? But it's addition by
money wise. This is the question. That, and I'm not.
No, yeah, it's addition by subtraction. You've eliminated a rival.
I get that part.
Okay, so now when media companies are looking to do anything,
that's true.
The 3 conferences that are the easiest plug and play, you can put them in, and they're all autonomous, and they all have all the rights and access and contracts with the media companies. It's the Pac-12. Big 12, the Big 10, and the SEC, right?
Yeah.
And they're the ones that do. If tomorrow ESPN puts out an announcement they're not picking up the ACC contract in February, it's going to be all bets are off.
Yeah, that would change everything, right?
The world is a different place if that happens, and that is a possibility. Yeah, ESPN could walk away.
Do you think they will though? Because the way I look at it is that at the moment, and if they're going to continue this fight, and
right.
if we're talking about an opportunity, and it sounds like they're talking to somebody, right? They're definitely, there's talks going on between ESPN and FSU and Clemson and these folks. That right?
I think they're in constant contact. Yeah.
Right. So I think that if they're considering, if they're talking to them, and there's a possibility that you could stay in the ACC and get more revenue, which is to me is the best idea for Clemson and FSU. I'm not saying it's the best for the Big 12. I'm saying for FSU and Clemson, the best thing for them to do is get more money, stay where they are, have more access, because they'll have more access right where they are than they'll ever have to the playoff otherwise, right?
Yeah.
But they need the revenue to at least be close in order to really compete, I guess. So to me, I feel like they wouldn't, and the deal is that ESPN actually has a good deal on the ACC and for a long time. So why wouldn't you keep that?
They would. I think it's self-explanatory. If the ACC retains all its teams, they will pick up the contract.
Right.
They'll sign that tomorrow.
Right.
Right now, the only reason they haven't done that is because there's these lawsuits and these guys are fighting and they're saying, essentially we want to leave. It's kind of like, remember Washington and Oregon? Remember how we said for months and months and months, the Pac-12 would solidify this second if Washington and Oregon put out press releases that said, we're staying. That's all they had to do. All they had to do was put out one press statement in a year saying, you know what? We're good. We'll backfill the Pac-12. We're strong. Did that ever happen? It never did. Because Washington was never going to stay in the Pac-12 ever.
No, never.
Ever. The minute USC left, Washington was gone. It was just a matter of how they were going to do it. That's how I look at the ACC. I don't think Florida State and Clemson, if they leave, the rest of that league is worth more than about 20 million. That's why.
Okay.
So it's dominoes, chicken or the egg. The one thing that is ticking out there that people forget about, and it's easy to do it, is that TV deal. February 1st, ESPN has to declare whether they're going to re-up that contract or they're not going to do it. There is a third option. They could renegotiate it, which I think they're going to down. They're going to renegotiate it down. But that's the time. That's the only timeline Florida State and Clemson have, is pushing ESPN to January 31st.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because they can hold out. They can keep going. They don't have to say they're leaving the conference. They can do status quo through the whole season. But you get to January 31st, and ESPN has to make a decision. Now, if ESPN makes the decision to re-up and then Florida State and Clemson leave, oh boy. Now what do you got? You have an overpriced conference that can backfill with Memphis, UNLV, San Diego State.
But if they re-up for the same amount, is it overpriced then?
Of course it is. It'll be like a third over, or like maybe half overpriced. Absolutely.
But they're so underpriced right now is what they would have you believe, is the reason I asked that.
But I don't think that part of it matters. It all comes down to how much money do they want to make now?
Okay.
The way the numbers work, and you worked it out. The numbers work out. We're essentially even right now. The Big 12 and the ACC with Florida State and Clemson, the Big 12 and the ACC are virtually even. ACC is a little ahead because of the playoff credits that they get from Clemson and Florida State, right? Mm-hmm. So if they're essentially even now, take those schools out and put them in any other conference, not the Big 12. Put them in independent. Now you have two that were peers, almost to the dollar, that you remove 30 to 40% of the value because those two brands are gone, and those are facts. Yeah, 30%.
I see what you're saying.
The viewership. So now what's that contract worth?
Mm-hmm.
And ESPN's not going to re-up that without them there, except for they'll reduce the amount. It's easy to lose track of a lot of these threads, Jason. You're asking really good questions.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't keep up with it the way you guys do. I know the last couple of years I did, but I got burned down on it a little bit, and it
is heavy
for you guys.
Well, I'll do this work, you do the football work. How about that?
No problem.
Okay.
Almighty Finn, just so you understand, I'm not dissing Florida State here. I wouldn't
think you would do that. No,
it's easier to get into the playoff from there than it is the SEC, and I think that's clear. That's clearly a fact.
But
that's all I was saying.
I would just say that they Tony Altimore, I got to say this before you go. Do not fall into the Tony Altimore messaging. You just said something that he used a bunch with the Pac-12 deal.
Hold on.
The schools, hang on, all the schools should just stay in the Pac-12. That way they have an easier path to the playoff. They have an easier path because they're not in conference with USC and UCLA.
I was only saying that in terms of if they're going to get more money.
But you were saying they're in the ACC to do that, though.
Right. If they stay in the ACC and they get more money, then it's worth it because you would have more money.
Right.
But you would have better access to the
it's a slippery slope. Just saying. Tony
Don't
Altimore,
you call me Tony Altimore, you dirty dog.
Tony Altimore told everybody they were making decisions on research dollars, endowments, and access to the playoff.
I know what he did. We fought him the same. I was right there alongside you, and I still am. Don't you dare do that again.
A lot of people watching me right now, and we just went from 120 to 135 watching us. A lot of these people have been exposed to Tony Altimore and genetics because they weren't part of the Pac-12 thing, right? So they don't have the history with them. And so I try to soft shoe that part of it because they don't know. They haven't been exposed. All I can say is,
Clowns. Clowns. I'll say it for you.
Okay, there you go. Oh, I'm on record, brother. So I'm not hiding from anybody. All right, I'm going to let you go. See if somebody else wants to join. Thank you so much for joining with me, Jason.
Hey, thank you.
We got to do this. We got to do this more.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I'll be on in the morning if you want to jump in with me. Anytime between
tomorrow, I may be able to do that.
Noon Eastern, I'll be on.
Okay, send me the link. Send me the link, and I'll hop on.
Okay, bud. Have a good one.
See you later. Thank you.
Later.
Jason Watkins, Hall of Fame, college football. Look him up on YouTube. Follow him on Twitter. He is a stud, and he's an Oklahoma fan, and so he's now covering the SEC, top to bottom SEC. Let's do a reset here. That was quite long, a little bit longer than I wanted to go. First, let me put the invite link out. If you're new to the show, I'm posting this in the comment section. Click on this link. If you have the ability to click on the hyperlink on your phone, it's easier to join. It's not a phone number. I still haven't got that working, and that's my fault. But click that link. You can join the show, and we'll talk, right? We'll talk for a few minutes about what you're thinking about all this stuff we're talking about. If you're new to the channel, make sure you follow me on Twitter. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, and then consider becoming a member of the College Football Mafia family. Oh, boy, gosh. Well, look at this. Mark Bowman with a $5 super chat. Mark, first of all, thank you very much. I owe you a sounder. Remind me tomorrow, and I'll have Moen give you one. Geographically and rivalry-wise, TCU and Texas Tech, SMU fits very well in the Big 12. That's a fact. Look, the Big 12 has told us since we joined the show that SMU wasn't just wasn't a possibility. Here, let me follow this up from Patrick really quick. Patrick says no. Mark Bowman stating a fact. It is geographically close to the Big 12. You're right. And I will also say this. If you haven't been watching SMU recruiting, you are missing out. They are blowing the doors off NIL. They are buying 5- and 4-star players every day. Putting it out there. SMU is going to be a monster because of the NIL rules. Crab Cakes is back. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yep.
Still not working.
I can hear you. You can't hear me. He still can't hear me. I'm sorry. Technology. I hate technology. Thank you, Mark. I really appreciate the super chat. You're a stud. Thank you for being a member. Let's cruise through some more of these comments. Man, a lot of people up late tonight. Check it out. Brett won't change his mind on SMU. Feelings were hurt, by the way. Okay. I did not know that. Braska Rascal, sorry. Member says, Raw, just waiting for your next show. That's funny. King Splain, check it out. The need to see it because the ACC sued them based on language in it, plus the gore is based off of it. So FSU needs to show the courts that after 27, they won't owe the league. Bunch of legal wrangling still going on. I can't really get into a bunch of the details that have come out in the last couple of days. I've followed it. Can't logically talk about it too well. All I know is that the ACC did win one ruling in North Carolina. Clemson turned around and sued them again on something else. So that's going to be going a long time, guys, a long time. Motivated, dedicated. Closer the season gets, more I start feigning. Oh, boy. The season cannot come fast enough, motivated, dedicated. Thanks for joining the show. Make sure you subscribe and follow me on Twitter. Let's see here. Illini Ted. I chatted with Baltimore for 30 seconds before he made some snarky comment, and I realized he was an idiot who couldn't take criticism. All I can say is, yeah, that late to the party there. I'm sorry you even gave him 30 seconds, Illini Ted. He did not deserve your 30 seconds. Baltimore also has rabbit ears. He blocked me because he didn't like my comments. Always disagreeing with him. I'm on record saying a bunch of stuff. I'm not going to do it tonight. All I can say is I think Baltimore and genetics take data and turn it to convince people what they are, or they make just stuff up, or they steal other people's stuff. I don't think Baltimore steals stuff, but I know genetics does. Like personally, no. So anyway, we'll move right along. Tony Lawson, good to see you, Tony. Check it out. You heard they might. I'm not sure what I said might to. But yeah, I do say might sometimes. Matt, the BTAA, this is the Academic Alliance. I see you, the CFB Plus. Just hang on a second. BTA Alliance isn't a complete loss to Stanford. They'd be in good hands doing research in the Big Ten, which generates more money than their current situation. The problem with Stanford is they are honestly probably the most connected academic school in the country, if not the world, when it comes to research. Billions of dollars in money and research and whatnot. And yeah, they'd have to give up some of that independence to join the Big Ten, but I believe I think they're going to end up doing that. And I think you can tell, we'll talk about Stanford on another show later, sometime soon. I do believe that Stanford, in changing some things, they're now giving money to transfers. So people can transfer in portal players that didn't used to do that. They've made some changes with their NIL. They may be gearing up to change. All right, CFB Plus, how we doing, man?
Doing all right. How are you? I know this has been a long time coming, I guess.
It has. I've tried getting you on a show for over a year.
I know. And I honestly was going to do some work and put some YouTube on in the background, and I saw you were live, and I thought, oh, damn.
Well, I appreciate that. It's great to see you.
Good to see you.
So what are you thinking tonight? What's on the top of your mind?
Man, so much.
Right.
You know, I was talking to – so first off, this whole Florida State Clemson to the Big 12 situation, I want to say it has some serious legs to it. However, it's still pretty likely.
Right.
You know, I'm not fully sold this is happening, but I was talking to some buddies of mine because we're all in the realignment, and someone said, well, I wonder if the Big 12 uses private equity to buy Florida State and Clemson. You know, at the time, this was over a month ago. You know, at the time, I thought, oh, this is interesting. But
I think I was the first person to think that up. Go ahead, I'm teasing.
No, you're good. But it just, from what I hear,
right.
You know, the SEC wants North Carolina and probably Virginia.
Right.
The Big Ten, they want Notre Dame and they want UNC. But the more there's just a lot of chatter about Stanford. And Stanford going to the Big Ten with Notre Dame, if you're a Big 12 fan, is beneficial because I think that opens the door more so for Clemson and Florida State to go to the Big 12. But it's going to come down to the politics of the states of Virginia and North Carolina.
You think?
I think so.
Okay.
Because, so I'm under the assumption that 20 is the max for pretty much every conference.
I believe that.
So you have Notre Dame, Stanford go to the Big Ten. That's 20. They're done.
Right.
And then you have the SEC. They look at Virginia and UNC.
Right.
Now, if the politics get real tricky, they may have to take NC State and Virginia Tech.
Right. That's what Mullen thinks.
You know, I don't think they would come in as a full share, but
right.
That's just a real tricky mess. Conversely,
go ahead. I'm sorry. No. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if they are able to separate, assuming the Big Ten does get Notre Dame, Stanford,
right?
I think then Clemson and Florida State will pull a Oregon and Washington, and they'll say, we'll take, you know, a third of what everyone else is making just to get in. And then I think the SEC, despite them not really wanting that, they'll probably look at that and say, you know, we don't really want it, but that's too much money to say no. Like, that's too good of a deal.
Really quick, let me interrupt you really quick. I just want to tell we've had David Mayfield join. David, just hang out there. As soon as I'm done with CFB Plus, we'll get you on, okay? Appreciate you joining, by the way. Good to see you. So let me just counter with a couple things.
All right.
I don't think it has anything to do with anything whether those 4 schools go to the SEC or not.
Really?
No, I don't. At the end of the day, I think this is going to turn on the ACC media deal. If the ACC is able to re-up by keeping Florida State and Clemson, then the whole realignment thing, I think, settles down. I honestly believe the SEC does not want to expand. I don't think they want anybody.
I think so. Okay, so for the ACC situation, in my opinion, I think Florida State and Clemson are kind of out of the ACC, and they want to do that sooner rather than later. However, if things go south, which I guess they might have if they're looking at the Big 12,
Right.
they may back off, but it doesn't look like it.
They'd eat a lot of crow if they went back to the ACC at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they willing to take that hit? That's the question.
That's the big question.
Yeah.
In terms of the media deal, I think it's going to be what came first, the chicken or the egg. I think I do not see a world in which ESPN re-ups, but they don't have a contract or a clause that says if anyone leaves, then they're stuck to that. I think if they re-up, there's going to be a clause for them to come in and say, we're going to renegotiate because the 2 big brands left, or some of the biggest brands left.
So you're saying
if they do that,
ESPN picks it up, regardless of the timing of Florida State and Clemson, but in picking it up, they add a contingency plan that says if Clemson and or Florida State leave, they either get to renegotiate or they get to get rid of the contract in total. Is that what you're saying?
I think yes.
Okay, so they would give ESPN an out.
I think ESPN would put it out. I honestly think ESPN, they are going to wait till the last possible moment.
I think that's quite possible. Yeah.
Because if Florida State and Clemson leave, then ESPN can just wipe their hands clean and be like, well, we didn't kill the ACC. Their brands left. What are we going to do?
Yeah, I think that we didn't kill the who, the whats. I think that ship has sailed years ago. I don't think any of that mattered.
While I agree, I do think there's a bit of public perception.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing for ESPN to, while Florida State, granted the situation's a bit dicey.
Right.
It's one thing for ESPN to say, well, they left.
Right.
So we're not going to renegotiate.
Right.
Then, they're still in the conference because they have not made a notice of withdrawal yet.
No, nobody has.
Which is wild. Yeah, this whole lawsuit thing is kind of because if they settle the lawsuit, what does that mean? Could they settle and still be in the conference? Surely not.
Sure they could. I got to let you go.
No, you're good. I understand you got people waiting.
I like your feedback, though, because it does give you pause to say chicken or the egg. I like the way you put that. Timing does matter. I think you're right there. The question is, to me, what is the one thing that's driving any timeline right now? It's not the court cases. It's the House settlement, right? Getting that signed, which is overarching. Haven't really talked about that tonight, but that's a given. That needs to be taken care of. And then it's the ACC media deal. So
yeah, I think it's kind of a game of chicken. Whoever it's either going to be Florida State or ESPN that makes the first move, and then all the same dominoes fall. It's just which one falls first. And so in some ways, it's kind of a moot point, but just whatever gets the ball rolling.
Well, I appreciate you joining. We'll have to do this again. Remember, you have an open invite. I want to get you on your own show, okay?
Oh, thank you.
You bet. It's good to see you. Thank you so much for all your work.
No problem. Take care.
Okay, we'll see you later. All right, thank you. College Football Plus. He's done really good things for the channel. Follow him on Twitter at CFB Plus. Guy's a stud and knows his realignment graphics. I will say that. How we doing, Davin?
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Good to see you.
I'm good. I had a question.
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
All right, y'all talking about Clemson and Florida State got the value. So you're telling me Miami don't have a value?
Oh no, Miami's up there with them. But let me be clear. I actually think Miami might have an easier bid to the Big Ten than Florida State and Clemson do, and the reason is because they got AAU a year and a half ago, and Notre Dame really likes them. And third, Fox likes brands. Oregon went. They didn't go for their research dollars. They didn't go for their academic premise. They went because of Nike, right? I think I think Miami's in the same boat. I think Miami way valuable, and a lot of, depending on what your measurement is, they're at the top of some.
Okay, yeah, because I know. I mean, when I tuned on, I just hear Florida State, Clemson, then I heard about everybody else. I'm like, well, Miami got more national championships. I think if you put Clemson and Florida State together, I think they only got 5 or 6 together.
You're exactly right. You're exactly
yeah.
No, everything you're saying is true. I have high respect. I'm an old guy. I'm 54, so I remember when they were independent. We're playing Catholic sisterhood schools. Schnellberger comes in and turns them into a monster. I can remember that entire
I'm a diehard Miami fan, so that's one reason I clicked in. And I hear to talk about like MC stuff. I'm like, hold on now, where's Miami from?
It's actually a good thing I'm not talking about Miami. That means that I think they're going to be easier to have a better outcome than anybody else.
Yeah, I know. When I watch the other podcast is for like Locked On Canes and stuff. I know they said Miami's taking like a wait and see approach to see what happens with Florida State and Clemson.
Maybe.
And then maybe I guess whatever happens with them, then they'll probably make their move or whatever and stuff like that.
Right. I mean, why go out and incur all the expense of lawsuits and everything else when Florida State's already doing the work for you? Just sit back and let them do the heavy lifting, right?
Yeah. Well, only thing that happened now in that case is that they didn't throw out the ACC countersuit. Is what happened yesterday.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. No, they didn't, but only in North Carolina.
So okay.
That ruling is only in North Carolina where the ACC is housed. You know, it's where the office is. In Clemson, in South Carolina, that ruling is the opposite. So in Florida, it's the opposite. So these are dueling charges back and forth across these states. I think there's 5 now that are active suits and countersuits between those things.
How can they do a state to state because they got teams there? I don't understand that because I know they went to one state, but then they filed with North Carolina. Then that's when I think North Carolina asked them for they contracts with ESPN and stuff like that.
Right. So it's about look. We all know the ACC is multi-state, and these states, each contract, they have their entities, their schools contract with a business. The ACC is a business, and they say we're going to give you something. You're going to cover us and give us something back. Usually that's money. In exchange for media rights, right? But in doing that, you necessarily give away some of your own rights. Once you join something bigger, you lose some of your own rights. What Clemson and Florida State are suing is for their own rights back, to be in control of what they think they own, and that they're challenging the ACC, saying we don't think you do own these things.
Wow. So the Pac-12, it will never be a Pac-12 again?
No, well, the Pac-12 still exists. I mean, the Pac-12 has Oregon State and Washington State, right? It's still the Pac-12, but the way it was built, no, that conference is dead the way it was.
So right now, so if you like right now, you got with you added what is it 10 Texas, Oklahoma,
right,
to them. So so say you got Texas ranked, Oklahoma ranked. So basically, because they're doing about the top 12 teams, because they went to them, it don't affect the team for not getting in. Because as long as you're in the top 12, no matter you're in the same conference. Well, it does matter because don't the conference champions still have to go? So a Big 12 champion and the ACC champion still will have to go.
That's right. And
yeah. Okay.
The difference is that the Big 10 and the SEC are going to get a majority of those 12 spots.
Plus,
they'll probably get. It'll be every other year that an ACC will get 2 or Big 12 will get 2.
That's crazy. It's crazy they're making a monopoly out of college football now. Which
it's turned into a monopoly. You've said it. You know that our show's the Mafia, right? I look college football playoff as a mafia. It's an underground. Yeah.
It's crazy. I'm like, I don't even know why they would let something like that even happen. to
Yeah, you'd have to go back decades to figure out how we got here. But at the end of the day, if you're a Miami fan, and any Miami people that are watching, if you were confused, the reason I wasn't talking about Miami is I think actually Miami's maybe a little ahead of Florida State and Clemson, and only that they have more friends, from what I understand, upstream than maybe Clemson and Florida State do. By the way, I think all three of those are tip-top brands. All three of them should be in the best conferences. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I just hope this is the season we get back. I'm tired of losing. It's been 20 years. I'm ready.
College football is better when Miami is great.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I ain't gonna hold no more time. That's why I just called about my team.
Okay,
I really appreciate
all right.
it. Thank you for having me on.
You bet. Thanks for joining, and make sure you subscribe. And we'll have a show tomorrow night at 7 Eastern.
All right, thank you, man.
Okay, you bet. Thanks a lot.
You have a good night. Take care.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right.
Gavin, join the show. That is awesome. I love meeting new people. This is great. Absolutely great. And I'm so far behind on comments, everybody. I'm sorry. If I missed any super chats, let's see. Here's one right here. Rawhide Media for you. A new super chat, new member, sorry. For $2 says, good show. A new subscriber. Thank you so much. Rawhide, I appreciate you being here very, very much. Okay, no other super chats I need to worry about. No new members that I need to worry about. So let's do a quick reset. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and turn on your notifications. That way you know when our shows are on. I do have a team that I work with. I'll call them out right now. That'd be Wild Ute. We have Moen After Dark, Rock and Rant. Let's see, Becky, Go Huskies, and Sergeant Pickles. They're out at the Big West Mafia show covering the west coast of the country, Big Ten schools. Premoto 505 Premoto, sorry, a new contributor, Florida State fan, has joined. And yeah, we're having a lot of fun. And invite everybody to subscribe. And this is something new I'm doing tonight late because I had the house to myself. I might do this more if I'm going to get 130 people watching me this late at night. I thought everybody was in bed. I might do this more often. Anyway, let me get to some more comments. If you want your comment to be read, guaranteed, it'll have to be a super chat. Just too many comments for me to manage otherwise. And I do defer to member comments over non-member. All right. David Frame says, Daniel, you're right, but West Virginia was also told if they ever add more teams, West Virginia would be on the list, which I understand they took Oklahoma and Texas first. I've heard a little bit. I'm not all up on West Virginia history. I was told, though, West Virginia has had talks with the SEC and the ACC in the past. I don't know that they're on any short list right now, but you start talking Super League, or at least you start talking a separate football grouping, whatever you want to name that. West Virginia would be definitely in that list, I think. Big enough brand there, they'd be covered. Another new member, Nick M, became a new YouTube member. I'm going to give you a clap, Nick, because I don't have a soundboard like Moen does. Thank you very much for joining as a member. As a reminder, this is what you get access. If you're a new member, you have access to all our hidden, I will say hidden only that it's only member only can read these different shows. And they are awesome. Wild University, there are so many, I can't even tell you. We've broken down ACC. We've broken down Big Ten. We've broken down Big 12. We're soon to break down the SEC. And these are all, you're smarter than the guy next to you at work the next day if you watch these videos. I absolutely guarantee it. We're data-driven. We are opinionated. I'm very opinionated. But any of the stuff we give you, I'll present it, and you can make up your own mind. In fact, feel free to tell me I'm wrong. I'm okay with that. Nick, thank you so much for joining. Let me post this again. If you want to join the show, there's the StreamYard link. Click on that. It's easier to join from your phone. But, oh, here we go. A super chat from KU number 1. I'm okay saying KU number 1. I like Kansas. $4.99 super chat. Thanks for being here, KU. Make sure you subscribe. FSU and Clemson coming to the Big 12. Don't forget Yormark was the CEO before he was hunting. Oh, and Rock Chalk Jayhawks. If I had the sounder, I would do the caw, but I don't, so I won't. Appreciate you giving me the $5 super chat. Thank you so much, KU number 1. And I agree with you. Yormark is hunting. And he's done this before, i.e. the Pac-12. He's doing it again. and he will get somebody. I know it. Uh-oh, somebody's bugging me again. CF, I've got somebody else that's joined me. Do you have a quick hit?
Yes, this is just a quick hit. I would just want you to imagine a world in which the Big 12 gets Florida State, Clemson, Miami, and Louisville.
Yeah.
That would be insane.
Yeah, if that happens,
That's it.
I've already made the commitment to the community. If that happens, I'm going to do a 24-hour show.
Oh, God.
It's going to be loaded, too. I'm going to have all kinds of guests. It will be members only. It will be lit. If that happens, I would be so excited. The chance that happens, just so everybody doesn't freak out, very, very,
100%,
very
I'm
small.
calling it right now.
But it would be a dream scenario. You're right.
All right, that's all I had.
Thanks a lot. You bet. We'll see you later. All right, I'm going to bring on a new member, Porter Osborne Jr. Seen you before, Porter. How are you doing?
Hey, good evening. Greetings from Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh boy, I want to get more people out of the Southeast. I love that part of the country. How are you doing tonight?
Doing great. I wanted to throw out an idea. I kind of scoffed at this idea back when there's a gentleman out of Huntsville, Alabama. I think he does radio up that way. He's a big Bama fan. I'm not a Bama fan. I'm a Georgia graduate, but
Okay.
he floated.
I like Georgia better than Alabama, just so you know.
I think most people do.
I love Georgia. I've always loved the G. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. Actually, I see all the Brigham Young stuff that you have on. One of my first memories was when Steve Young came to Sanford Stadium in 1983, I think it was.
Yes, it was. Herschel Walker won the Heisman, but he owned the day.
Yeah, that was quite a stretch of games that year. But we played some neat teams. I think UCLA, Brigham Young. We kind of expanded our anyway.
That was before the SEC became insular and sort of changed and started making more money. You guys used to travel a lot more.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, the guy had an idea, and I first scoffed at this when he floated it out there. But it's a great idea. Let me ask you this, and to prove my point. The SEC is already the best league in football,
right?
The best league in baseball. I mean, look at baseball. We dominate in baseball more than we do football, to be honest with you. Women's basketball, gymnastics, heck, even Auburn won the national championship in golf.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. So, what is the one sport that the SEC can never get on top of?
Well, one, I would never say never because the SEC has more money than God with ESPN. So I think basketball obviously is
that's
listed.
That's the point.
You could bring in a Kansas overnight, and
my point is
entire league.
Yeah, my point is, I don't think we need any more blue bloods in football.
No,
this guy's idea out of Huntsville, and I give him total credit. Because he's really thinking outside the box. He said, why didn't the SEC just go up and why don't we go up and get North Carolina and Duke?
Right. Yeah.
Think about what that would do. I know this is not a college basketball show, but
no, we're talking brands here. This is okay. This is exactly what we want to talk about. Go ahead and finish.
So I mean, think what you would do, what type of reach those two programs have. I didn't even think about Kansas. Kansas would be a good addition too, because that's contiguous with. That's one thing the SEC tries to do is to be contiguous with the rest of the country, or rest of the members to all be in line to where we're not flying out like the Pac whatever's doing to the Big Ten and all this other stuff. So I thought it was a brilliant idea. So just wanted to float that idea to you.
Well, it is brilliant. We've spoken about it on our show, and I know other people have talked about it too. I'm not sure who you're referencing, but I will give him credit too if you heard it first. At the end of the day, the SEC is about total domination. They want to dominate the world, right? And if I was Sankey tonight, I was Greg Sankey, I would get Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, and I would buy UConn and become the basketball league of all leagues. That's what I would do.
Yeah, the last one there, that's an interesting thing. The problem with that is that they're just not contiguous with the
Of
rest
course,
of the
well,
coast.
and it's a stretch, and then they only play basketball, and there's other things. I'm being a little facetious there, but there's a lot of brands you guys could write a check for and pick up overnight. You'd have to be willing, though. That might lower your overall value for the league. Are you guys willing? Are you willing to trade, let's say, $5 million a year to pick up some brands that can't carry? Because realignment's all football. Yeah, I'm sure you know that.
I'm aware of that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like 80% football, 20% basketball. That's the math. So if you're willing to give up some of your money dominance to the Big Ten to become more dominant in basketball, then you can bring in some of these brands, and overnight you'd be relevant, like that.
Well, I think we could do something like that just because the amount of blue chip talent in the Southeast is just it's off the chart.
You bet.
We always have that home base of that blue chip talent in the Southeast. So
yes.
And that's why when everybody's talking about all these going out west, like the Big Ten's trying to go into Florida and get Florida teams, or going to the, I'm thinking a kid in Florida or a kid in California. I don't understand the concept of, just because you're part of a conference that is in a totally different region of the country, why would that person suddenly want to go to these Rust Belt schools like Michigan State or Maryland or wherever, or Purdue or somewhere like that, just because you have a presence in California, or say they come down and get Miami or Florida State in Florida. Makes no sense. Why would a kid in South Florida suddenly be interested in Indiana because the Big Ten is now part of his region? It's like saying, it's so dumb. It's like saying, when the ACC brought in Miami, I didn't see a lot of South Florida kids want to go to NC State. You know what I mean?
Well, times have changed now, though. NIL world is a different world. So now you have SMU writing $1 million checks for 4 and 5 star athletes. SMU writing checks. They've just recently become relevant at all. And they're writing checks to get assets. So I think that's what you're going to see in basketball. And basketball has been going for a while now. So you ask why? I think it's follow the money. The endowment that supports basketball at Indiana is ridiculous strong.
But I think geography is always going to win out.
Maybe.
I know money is important and everything, and you're always going to get those kids that will leave a region for the money.
Right.
But a lot of them are going to come right back home when, it just doesn't work out, or they surround themselves with people they don't like, or they
you
can't
may be right
with, and all this other stuff. I mean, I'll tell you right now, I told my Southern Cal buddies when they joined the Big Ten, I said, you guys, it just didn't make a lot of sense, because they're not only the whole travel and being out of that, being 3 time zones away, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And they're typical, Southern Cal hubris.
Right.
They try to tell themselves that it's not going to matter, but it's going to matter. The travel is going to matter.
Yeah, I think USC and UCLA are going to have a much more difficult time than they expected. UCLA might only win 4 or 5 games this year. That's how bad that travel might be on their team. But at the end of the day, we don't talk about it very often, because it just, people lose their minds. But if we talk about an elevated form of a football competition level, Super League, if you want to use the catchphrase, where you've elevated your best brands that are only playing football, you separate them from the conferences entirely, and all you're doing is you're playing in a football league. If you're able to separate those things, then I agree with you. I think basketball then reverts more regional. I think things pull back a little bit, says you're not stretching to do the TV dollars. And then football will take care of itself. Georgia will be at the top and make a bunch of money and be in the playoff every year and all that fun stuff. But until that happens, until that bifurcation occurs, and I don't think it happens. If it happens at all, I don't think it even begins to start until 2030, 31, the next time the Big Ten media contract comes due. And then what, or I guess it's 29, 30, I guess. When that happens, then these leagues are going to get together with these power schools, and they're going to say, look, Do we want to keep doing it this way, or is there a better way to do it where we get more of the money because we're the ones that are bringing it in the first place? And then that will release the schools to put their other events, basketball, one of them, into a more free form where the kids will stay closer to home because the equality in basketball is quite a bit more than it is in football. So,
that is true. Yeah,
I think it could happen. We're a ways away though.
Well, and I think too that another reason why I'm sure a lot of people are rolling their eyes out there in the chat. That's fine, but
that happens all day to me. It doesn't matter.
The reason why the SEC is so strong is that we just have these brands that even if they're in a down cycle like Florida or Auburn,
right?
Eventually they're going to get back to where they were in their glory days. So
of course,
it's like we don't need to add anybody.
No, you don't. And that's been talked for a while. We've talked about it for over a year. That these bigger conferences really don't need to expand with football brands.
Exactly. Yeah.
To keep their value. Now, if you want to continue to grow your value, you're the Big Ten. You want to do the best basketball you can or football you can. Pick Florida State and Clemson. Their pedigree. They bring viewers, and you've made yourself arguably the best football conference in the country. But obviously, they didn't do that. Right? There's been this delay, no settlement, the court case. They still haven't declared what they're going to do. And I firmly believe there's a reason for that, which is why all these Brett Yormark Big 12 rumors even got started, is because nothing has happened in 7-8 months. And people are starting to look around going, is the emperor even really wearing clothes? There might not be a reward at the end of the rainbow for these schools that they thought they were going to have.
Well, I mean, but first of all, you made a point, and again, if I'm dominating if I need to get off, let me know.
No, we can go another minute or two. Go ahead.
The problem when you said that if the Big Ten added Clemson and Florida State, that they would be the best conference.
It would be arguably the best conference.
Arguably, okay. I was about to say, because I mean, nobody has the diversity of national championships starting in the BCS era until now. I can name 8 teams that have won national championships.
Right.
Oklahoma, Texas, Tennessee, LSU, Auburn, Georgia, Florida, and Alabama. I mean, nobody has that kind of.
I don't get me wrong. I'm not trying. I said arguably, right? There are people that are going to say, you're mentioning Oklahoma and Texas. Well, we just picked up Clemson and Florida State. So there is no question. The SEC has the most championships. They have the most blue bloods, I believe. So from that standpoint, it's probably not arguable. I would just say that if you were building a conference just around football, there are ways to improve your conference, and just picking up brands, not worrying about the education or any of that other stuff that obviously matters.
I agree, and I will say this. That's the last thing I'm going to say. I really wish you guys. I see all the BYU stuff. I wish you guys luck in the Big 12. I think you as a BYU brand deserve to be in a big conference like that. And I was glad to see Utah and BYU and Arizona State get into a conference where you have that cachet to where you're not in, I don't know, the WAC or the whatever you were in before.
Right, joke.
So, but I always like the BYU rivalry with Utah and by the way, I will say this. I guess we're late enough to say these things without there's no kids around or whatever.
No, go ahead, say whatever you want.
Your Utah women are very underrated. You got very nice looking women in Utah.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. There's some good ones.
I will say that.
I've had 3 of them myself, so yeah, I agree with you.
Oh, good for you. Good for you. I'll keep listening, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, Porter, make sure you subscribe. I appreciate you being around, and definitely hang around. I want to do more SEC stuff. So knowing you're there and a Georgia person, boy, that gives me a lot more comfort knowing that we want to cover more of the SEC. Just this other realignment stuff has sort of taken over the world, and we're just trying to sort through that right now.
Sure.
I appreciate it, though. Thanks for your time tonight. Thanks for staying up late with me.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, you bet. We'll see you later.
Bye.
I'm going to clap Porter out. That was a great call. Very good comments. Thank you so much, Porter. I love everything you said. Let's get to a couple super chats here. KU number 1, $4.99 super chat says, Rock Chalk and much respect to my friends in BYU. Love your show. I think your mark already has FSU and Clemson. Where there is smoke, there is fire. KU number 1. I hope you're right. I would get back to Porter and say, Porter, I don't know. I talked myself away from saying this. First of all, thank you very much for the kind words you said about BYU. The brand, I think the brand of BYU is international. It does have cachet. It's BYU people just need to be patient, right? We haven't had the money that these other leagues have had. It's 3 to 5 years. It's a slow process, but NIL's starting to turn around, and BYU's coming. To steal Prime's words, but I genuinely believe where BYU's climbing. I don't know about Colorado. They might be one more year and done if Dion leaves. Anyway, so thank you, KU, for that super chat. And then one more. BYU, I think, is a much better this year. And if your QB gets hurt, we only win 6 games. I never want to leave the Big 12. Best commissioner in NCAA. Watch him hunt. That would be Brett Yormark. Thanks again, KU number 1. You're exactly right. $4.99 super chat. If BYU can stay healthy, I think they win 6 games. That's where we're going to go. I'm on record. I haven't done my picks for my Big 12 yet as the team, but I'm going to go with 6 wins. I got a couple upsets in there. Vox Quindaro says BYU is strong like battery acid. Thank you very much, Vox. I appreciate that. You guys are awesome. I cannot believe so many people are watching this late. This is great. Are you guys have? I don't know. I've honestly, there's so many good comments. I can't even begin. Let me see if I could just cherry pick a couple. Like right now, I know all these other comments you guys have been talking. Right now, comments. Somebody. First of all, let me put it. I can invite one more person on the show live if somebody wants to join me live. There's a link. Join me and we'll talk. But let's just sum up tonight, right? Let me tell you all the stuff that I've said so there's no questions. Florida State, Clemson, Notre Dame, and UNC and Miami. I believe all 4 of those schools, if that's 4 or 5, are going to end up in good places. Okay? The chances they land in the Big 12, very, very small, but I do believe there's a chance. In the tweet I put out this morning, I'm not going to change the percentage right now. I put 20% that something could happen with Clemson and Florida State when they leave. They could end up in the Big 12. If we put that aside, don't talk about the Big 12 anymore, and we just talk about the ACC and where that stands, the legal drama is going to continue unless tomorrow there's a settlement. That drama is going to continue. Josh Pate's tweet, he said it had legal connotations, restructuring of the conference. That could be many, many different things. Could it be the conference blowing up and reforming? It absolutely could. That is an option. Do I think that's going to happen? I say that's a 1% chance that's going to happen for multiple reasons. I will tell you a few. SMU is a problem in that realm. And I would also say Wake Forest, Boston College, possibly Syracuse, put that plan into questionable. It's questionable purely because you dissolve the conference. Those guys are floating because they don't necessarily bring viewers to join a reconstituted ACC. The lawsuits, don't really need to talk about that. It's going to continue. The one thing that's hanging out there that's going to be there for a while is the ACC media deal. What does ESPN do? They have to make a decision by February 1st next year. We're in countdown. What is that? 5 months away? 6 months away. It's crazy how fast the calendar's moving. Seems like it was just announced that was coming up. That is a hard and fast date. Something has to happen before then. A renegotiation, a re-up, or a complete dissolve. Something has to change there. Does FSU and Clemson wait till that happens? Do they use that as leverage with ESPN to possibly get into the SEC? Do they join the SEC at a lower rate, not a full rate, which is kind of where I'm leaning right now, is they join the SEC at a half rate. That's where I'm at right now because they don't have much leverage. If the news about the Big Ten is true. I might be wrong. I put the Big Ten deal, which honestly started out as the first option. I thought for sure if FSU and Clemson were in the Big Ten, I said it probably for 6 months. It was a certitude. I was certain they were getting in the Big Ten. Now I put that at 10%. Lots of reasons. Don't need to detail them here. But there's lots of questions about those relationships right now. Not going to tell you what they are. You guys do your own research, but in my mind, there are questions. Vince, VC Knoll at Garnet and Old, talked to him right before I started the stream. He believes that's where the final destination. He thinks for sure none of this would have started. He's pretty sure it's the Big Ten. Didn't guarantee it, but he's leaning Big Ten. And that still could be the thing. And if that happens, I'll say I was 90% wrong. Not 100%. I was 90% wrong. Have I missed anything? People have been asking me on Twitter. Anything I say on Twitter, I will justify in person. My name is Nathan Brown. I don't back down from anything. Everything I put out, I stand by. If I get something wrong, I admit it. Say it out loud. Apologize if there's an apology needed, and move on. That's the way life is. But I don't run from anything I've said. KU number one, another super chat, $1.99 says, if KU QB gets hurt, we stink. BYU is fine. Thank you very much. KU number one. I really appreciate that. I hope BYU is fine. I hope so. I have Kansas in my top 4 if Jalen Daniels stays healthy. Is that possible? Can he stay healthy? Is that even possible? I don't know. Did I miss anything? All right, I'm going to start working backwards through comments, see if I missed anything. CFB Plus says, College Football Mafia, I'm about to fake the most vile viral tweet from you. You're going to fake it, huh? All right, whatever. Do whatever you want. I'm on record with mine. Daniel Gygax, one of our long-term members. I would call him an OG at this point, $4.99. Super chat says, if FSU and Clemson join, I'm guessing he's saying the Big 12, can the media contract be renewed? Okay. I'm going to say yes, but I'm going to put a caveat on there. I need to talk to Bob Thompson about what the continuation part is. This is an outstanding question I just haven't touched base with. I've got a homework assignment to follow up with Bob. I need to find out 2 things. I need to find out if they do join, are they grandfathered into the current ESPN agreement, or does that immediately open up a new negotiating window? That's one question I don't know the answer to. Second question is, if they come in, do they bring everything that was currently with them in the ACC with them, i.e. the college football playoff credits and all the additional bonus that come with it? We've been saying they do. I started thinking about it today, and I want to follow up on that. So that's something else I'm going to follow up with Bob. I also need to find out if they do join, is there a way to renegotiate the contract so that they can do different dispersals? In other words, they get more money than maybe other schools. That might be an incentive. And the last one was just in my head and then jumped out of my head. Let's see, Clemson, Florida State, if they join the Big 12. Oh, there's another big one, and it just went in and out of my head. I'll remember it. There's one more I need to ask Bob. But the point is, there's a lot of outstanding questions about them joining that I'm going to chase down with Bob Thompson. We'll try to get you the facts as much as possible. We will probably make some guesses based on what we already knew, but the facts may be Jane. Oh, I remember. This is something I want to put out to the Ethernet because I forgot to put it on Twitter. Put your thinking caps on. Let's talk about this tomorrow night on our show. If they join, does Florida State and Clemson just by themselves constitute, could they open up the contract to a point where if Fox doesn't pick up the full share, or if ESPN doesn't pick up the full share, can they bring in a third partner? Could the secret sauce that Brett Yormark has in his back pocket be Amazon, Apple TV? And if I just didn't blow everybody's minds, I don't know. You guys are the first to hear it. I haven't seen it on Twitter at all. I'm going to take credit for anything that comes from this. But in my opinion, there is the possibility that a third party could be brought in to broadcast those additional games in the Big 12. And what does that do to the Big 12 media deal? Sky's the limit. So we'll have to chase those things down. I'm going to find out as much as I can. You guys will be the first to find out, hear about it. I'll put it out on Twitter and we'll talk about it on our shows. But that's an honest, open question. If they join, or if Louisville joins, or Miami joins, do they have the ability with that additional bandwidth of games? Can they bring in a third broadcaster? Now all of a sudden the P2 is P3, people. Brett Yormark. I know I just blew some people's minds. I know for a fact, because now all of a sudden the Big 12 doesn't look so silly. Now all of a sudden the Big 12 is not so backward. Oh, man, I love that. I've been sitting on that all day. You guys are getting it. I don't know. I'm punch drunk at 11, I guess. I'm going to chase that. That's going to be my task tomorrow. I'm going to find out. I'm going to find out the answer to those questions. Antoine Code says bomber. By the way, he uses the key word. He put bomber in the comment. That if I see my name, I'm more apt to pick it. Just so you know. Bomber, the presidents are not voting on unequal revenue. They don't care about giving FSU Clemson extra money. Okay, Antoine. Okay. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I can't say you're right. Edward O, LSU, it looks like. Nuss Bus Driver, good to have you here. Go Tigers. Thank you. I love seeing these all these Southeastern Conference guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. A guy in BYU gear, Big 12. We covered all of college football, and we've been covering it for over a year now. And it's not all Big 12, and it's certainly not all big BYU. In fact, I very rarely talk about BYU. Mostly talk about the Big 12 and then everybody else's place in college football playoffs. So I'm glad you're here. Make sure you subscribe. It's good to have you here. I'm tickled. I'm getting LSU and Georgia people. Really, really excited about that. Curtis D 316. Heck, YouTube could be a partner because of the NFL Sunday Ticket. It's a huge platform. Curtis, again, speaking truth, right? Lakers fans since 1986. Big Ten is the one who will add more media partners. That's why they're going to 24. Then they'll take 16 from the SEC in 2030 and own college football king Gambit style. Lakers fan, 1986. I could not disagree with you more, but I appreciate your comment. Thank you. Is that possible? It's possible until it's not. That's what I say. By the way, I'm going to say this out to the Ethernet too. Tomorrow, if I hear any of this talk about what happens with the Big 12 media deal, if I hear it from the Monty show, if I hear it from a bunch of other shows that like to steal stuff, you know where that came from. They didn't come up with that overnight, I promise. Nobody's talked about it. David Frame, we played for 2 national championships and lost, but we also played Notre Dame, and they cheat. David Frame, you'll have to remind me what your school is. I'm sorry, I can't remember. Let's see here. Trojan Fight says, lol. If he's a USC guy, there's any number of things he could be laughing at. Good to have you here, though. Appreciate it. I've not always been on USC side because I'm from Washington, but I do respect the Trojans. Absolutely a blue blood. Absolutely, no question. Oh boy, says Monty show most definitely got an intern listening, going to steal everything you said. Oh boy, I guarantee you tomorrow morning I'm going to wake up. Somebody's going to send me a DM saying, hey, guess what I heard today? No, that's going to happen. I just know that's going to happen. Somebody's already sent them a DM. You bunch of thieves sending stuff to other shows. Vox says, Monty will rob you blind. Yeah, I know. I knew it when I said it. Nick M says, I had to quit watching the Monty show. They spend too much time patting themselves on the back. What are you talking about? They're never wrong. I don't know what you're talking about. They are always right. Always. I'm going to get to some more of these comments from people that I do not know well. Matthew Castleton, just checking in. How's it going? Oh, I'm having fun. I hope you guys are having fun. Trying to set this record straight on some of the stuff that we've talked about over the last week. Actually, the last months in realignment. We've covered a lot of stuff. I'm putting a StreamYard link out there because I'm still having fun. If you want to join the show live, click on that with your phone. You don't have to be on camera. Come on and talk. We'll talk some more. Check it out. It says third broadcaster pay extra for Louisville. Yeah, I think so. Well, it's not so much about paying for a school. It's about whether adding those games to their library enables them to add a third partner. That's the question. It might be that Fox and ESPN have the right of first refusal, which would eliminate the ability to bring in a third partner. But I know Brett Yormark's talked about it. Not recently, but he talked about it last year. Sorry. Gum disintegrating in my mouth. So I know they've talked about it. I just don't know if it's a thing. We'll find out. I'm sure we will find out soon because I'm going to chase it down. Trojan Fight, would FSU joining the Big 12 change the bids the Big 12 would get in the playoff? I'm not sure it does. I think it does. Trojan, I think it does. And I'll tell you why. Because right now, the only reason the ACC is making more money than the Big 12 is because of those additional credits in the college football playoff. They're making 17, and I believe the Big 12 is making 15% from that. And that is the difference in the yearly annual, but I mean, their budgets are almost identical. ACC network and everything included, almost identical to the penny. But you take away Florida State and Clemson, that's 30% minimum of all of their media value, those two brands. You don't believe me? Go to Wild Ute University, become a member, and watch those videos. And he explains it in detail, not broad strokes. Maybe you make it up on, no. He tells you exactly why the value goes down. And because I think that value goes with them, that would mean that the CFP money that they're currently getting credit for, because they participated and won championships, would slide to the new conference. That's the premise. So that's where I'm coming from. And that's why I think the Big 12 would immediately, like instantly, they join the conference, they'd be worth X amount more. Now, what that goes to, I don't know. Right now, the SEC and the Big 10 are making, I think, 29% each. So I think it goes to 23, 24 maybe. I don't know, maybe not that high, 21, 22. But I do think it goes up. Another claim to fame that we have on this show, and I would add peek around the corner in it. Anybody who watches my show, you're the smartest viewers on YouTube for any social media. The smartest people watch our shows. You know why? Because dumb people don't have patience with us because we don't entertain them. Only smart people stick around. So appreciate everybody being here tonight. David Frame again says, can't pay Clemson more than West Virginia. Need to check the history of the two last time we played them in a bowl game. It was 70-33. Clemson was completely embarrassed. David, I believe you. I will bow to your superior knowledge. All I'm saying is, between the two, Clemson is the brand in football. West Virginia isn't. Not demeaning West Virginia. I'm just saying that's the reality of the brand to college football. Summit Hawk, the main man, OG. Don't you think your mark is planning a Big 12 network? Oh my gosh, we are going deep tonight. You guys got me punch drunk. No, I don't think so, Summit. And I'll tell you why. I'm not going to tell you where I got the data, but I've seen the data on how much the ACC network is paying. And I think most people watching right now would be shocked at how low that contribution is. It's publicly available, the information. I'm not going to share it because it's not mine to share. But if you did the homework, the ACC network is not the big moneymaker everybody thinks it is. So no, I don't think so. You know why? Because BYU had to build one going independent, had to build their own network, and it cost $30 million. Now times that by 16 schools. Well, 15 minus BYU. The infrastructure is not in place to support the private network. And we'll compare it to what the Washington had to take a loan from the Big Ten to get the money to build their own $30 million communication center like BYU has to support the Big Ten network. So I don't think the Big 12 gets a network. I don't think they need one. I think Yormark's going to get the strongest partners he can and rely on their infrastructure. I could be wrong, but do the math. 16 times 30. I don't know math, so I can't tell you what that is. 58 or something? 48? It's a number that right now the Big 12 cannot sustain. No way. Now they get a $7 billion media deal or whatever. You bet they'll do that. Then I think they'll build one. But right now, Summit, I don't think they do. The math doesn't work out. Yormark is looking into a fast Big 12 network. Fast means something, and I can't remember what it is. It means, I remember. Do you guys have Rokus? If you guys are watching, if you have Roku, you have Fubo TV, you have Roku TV, all these. Fast, which is what Cameron B for $2 tells us with a super chat, is one of those type networks. And then they use ad dollars from those broadcasts to pay for the media values. That's how they pay for it. And it doesn't cost the Big 12 anything. So that's what we're talking about with your mark. And there might be more details. I might be missing some details. It is possible I'm missing some infrastructure costs. I don't know those off the top of my head. And if somebody gives them to you later, you were wrong. It's $15 million. I was wrong. I'm sorry. It wasn't on purpose. But I don't think there is. The reason I don't think there is Utah Jazz does it with somebody, or Phoenix Suns does it with somebody, broadcasts all their shows online. And they didn't have to build a network. They just basically said, we're going to put it on one of these easy, free to watch type things. And then they make money on advertising. Anyway, thank you, Cameron. I appreciate bringing that up. That's a very good point. I need to introduce Jan Hulk to everybody. Jan Hulk comes to us all the way from Slovenia. Slovenia is in the Baltic states. I think I'm right. Now Jan's going to slap me around. I think Latvia, Estonia. I might be wrong. I might have Slovenia wrong. Anyway, he comes from Europe. He's been in bed. He's had some medical things, and he's been watching for about a year now. So we are international. We're in the UK. We're in Slovenia. We're in Australia. We're in Philippines. Japan at one point. We're all over. We're international. Appreciate it, Jan Hulk. Why compete with all new platforms and TV networks? Just sell to the highest bidder. Yeah, that's Jan's got it. Keep it simple, stupid. That's right. Following up, Cameron B says Pac-12 Insider was a fast network on the free TV aggregator. So that's it. That's what we're talking about. That's the Fubo TVs and Fubo's not free. It has a free component, but all the Rokus and stuff have free stuff. Anyway, doesn't matter. Matthew Castleton says, yeah, K-Jazz. Yep, you got it. K-Jazz is free. Anybody can watch it. It's on digital TV. That's basically what they're talking about. Slovenia made the knockout round in the Euro tournament. I love European soccer. I am a huge European soccer geek. And England beating the Netherlands was absolute theft. That's all I can say. It was theft. Yeah, that's right. It's one of the old Yugoslavia countries. I apologize. Thank you for correcting me, Matthew. It was part of Yugoslavia. I apologize. So that's down with Montenegro and Serbia, right? In that area. Yeah, sorry. That's the Adriatic. That's by Italy. I apologize. Sorry, Jan. Don't be mad at me, please. Jan celebrates. We did make Portugal sweet. Yeah, you beat Portugal. See, we're getting more Eastern teams will help West Virginia find their footing again. They lost their identity when they came to the Big 12. Yeah, well, but they were in the Big 12. So I'd rather be in the Big 12 and paying a lot more money, but in the Big 12 and have access than not. I can speak from experience. Front Runner says, here's a wild idea I've heard. If Big 12 goes CVC, they might have international rights with Sky Network. Okay. Yes. CVC is a private equity firm. They're associated with Endeavor. They're not Endeavor, but they're associated. And they have partnerships internationally in broadcasting. That's all I'll say. Catchphrases for people just watching the show for the very first time. We've gone far afield a little bit. Let me put up my banner so everybody knows where we started tonight. It is true that the Big 12 has talked, third-party talks with Florida State and Clemson. Very thin information based on that. That's all it says is they talked. They had lunch. Maybe they traded email addresses. I don't know what they did. They were not first party, so they weren't official. And they had a conversation. All this stuff that's come after that, I'm not going to go through all the stuff I've said on Twitter in the last 24 or 48 hours. But the bottom line is, just because they've talked doesn't mean anything's changed. I still think it's odds-on favorite. They go to the SEC, in my opinion. Big Ten, I've lowered for other reasons. But the SEC, in my mind, is about 40%. But I do believe that they lost some of their leverage. So maybe they go at a half rate. The next best option, in my mind, legally would be just to stay in the ACC, suck it up and, put away your pride. Stay there for a few more years until you are ready to make that jump. Don't spend the money Continue the lawsuit. Let that go. But don't spend the huge amounts of money just to leave. And then see where the lawsuit ends up. Maybe you end up winning and you walk away for free. Regardless, you compete in the ACC. You're available for that college football playoff, bye week, and just stay. I wouldn't pay to leave just to leave. Third best option, in my opinion, is Big 12. Just to have a destination. Oh my hell, this has been awesome. I'm going to get to some more people. Ed D, FSU doesn't have an opportunity to win a natty in the ACC. Okay, I'll take your word for it. I don't really don't have a lot of an opinion on that, to be honest. Jan Hulk, man, a lot of people know where Slovenia is. 10 years ago, nobody ever heard of us. Well, I'm glad I was corrected. Slovenia is in my mind all the time because I think of Jan. But yep, that's true. It is. KU number 1, I cannot stress enough, Yormark was a CEO long before Big 12. He has this deal done. Promise. Yormark is smart like a CEO. Is building his revenue, then surprise. Okay, I'm going to get to some earlier comments because I know I skipped some that were here in the middle. Let's see here. Boy, we have been on it tonight. You guys have been so active. I appreciate everybody joining tonight. This is a one-off show. It's been fun, though. I might have to do more of these if you guys want. Please leave comments and suggestions if you want me to do more shows like this late. If you guys like this stuff, I'm happy to do it. I just didn't realize so many people were involved this late. Make sure before you leave, subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter. And subscribe on YouTube. Those are really, really important things for me personally. Sort of do this with us a lot more. Down at the bottom is our programming notes. We have shows all week long. We have a show tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern. It's our big freaking Friday show. It'll be me, Wild Ute, Moen, and maybe a guest or two. And we'll be talking more of this, ACC and whatever else. Big 12, who knows. Let's get to a few more comments here, and then I'm going to step out unless there's anything else. Did I miss a super chat? I don't think I did. Let me look. I already answered that one. Summit Hawk, if FSU comes to join media contract, we answered that one. I've answered all my super chats, so I'm clear there. Let me get to the end. One last time. I'll do one last look in. If anybody wants to join me live, I'll put the link. Hit the click, comment section, hit the hyperlink, join me for a minute or two as we close out this show. Otherwise, I'm going to go to a few more comments and then be done. The Big Lubbock says Thursday doesn't have enough YouTube shows. That's why it has been busy. Hey, don't steal my idea. Geez, Lubbock. Don't tell the world. I've been saving Thursday, just so everybody knows. It's not like I forgot about Thursday. I've just been saving it. David Frame, I don't think West Virginia will go to the ACC, but I don't think Clemson's coming to the Big 12. They're definitely not getting paid more money. Okay. KU number 1, CFB Hope. I was nice. You were nice. Everybody's been nice. You guys are great. You kidding me? This has been fantastic. Saying people can't find or aren't near West Virginia isn't all that true. In the lower 48 states, no Division I college football stadium is far away from any others than Texas Tech. Okay. I'll have to take your word for it. I think that might do it. Nobody wants to join me live. All right. CFB says Monty going to do a Thursday night live show in Utah. He can still do that. It is 11:18 Utah time. He could pop on live. Right now, he's making up lines to, how to steal the idea, twist it around, and then present it like, hey, I've been saying this since August. Last year, I talked about this. I promise you. I don't make promises. I don't make promises to family, friends. I just hate letting people down. This one, I can almost guarantee it's going to happen. Almighty Finn, have a great night. Thank you, Almighty Finn. Vince Condero, Monty goes live immediately following this. I love this stuff. KU number 1. Wait, this isn't the same guy, right? I don't know. I don't know what everybody's alias is. College football, Monty going to do a Thursday live show. Okay, I think we're done. Everybody, thank you so much. I want to thank you for being here tonight again. Follow me on Twitter. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. It's been a great show. I appreciate all the new subscribers, everybody being here tonight. It's been awesome. And I hope you had fun. That's what I ask everybody when they join the show, if you had fun. And just know that we're doing a show tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern. And I don't know. I work from home, so I might do a show tomorrow too. We'll have to see. Maybe the news will break and Florida State to the Big 12 will happen tomorrow. I'm just saying. Everybody have a great night. Stay out of trouble. And I haven't really said any drinking game words, have I? Syracuse, Georgia Tech. If you've been drinking, do not drive. Other than that, everybody have a great night and stay out of trouble. Peace.